Hello, and welcome to TrekChatz, a Star Trek watch podcast by two people who haven't watched Star Trek before. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by a man who took on the face of a race that he enslaved and decided to become their leader. It's Magellan. What's up, dude?
Okay. My brain's going. It's like there's a world of possibilities. There's so much potential to make like a cutting political commentary with whoever I chose to be here. And for some reason, my brain is like, just do an Elmo voice. Like, put this on Elmo.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think
But I'm not,
Deep Space Nine, and it's exactly the same except Dukat is replaced by Elmo, is something.
I can't do it.
Adami! I just, after last week's disaster where I was like, make people make bad food decisions, and you were like, I can't do this bit! I can't do this bit! I was like, I need to give him a nice, easy layup of a bit.
Yeah, I love improv it's not about yes and, it's about yes. Like the sort of villain is offers.
Do the horrible bit. Do it.
Uh-huh.
It's TrekChatz. It's a Star Trek watch podcast. Folks, how are we doing? Magellan, how are you?
I'm good. We're both sweatered up, you know. It's time to be cold and to love it. So this was a very cozy week for me, bundling up, getting under the covers, watching everybody I know and love hurtle towards various fates and send off this great show. So yeah, what about you? How are you?
Yeah, it's been, as you said, a chillier season. We've entered into the colder state of fall, which I enjoy. I am running a 5K in early November here in Boston.
Oh, fun.
I keep trying to go for runs and doing this thing where I'm wearing a sweater and shorts, which I've been told is one of the sluttiest things a man can wear. And and I go out and then my legs freeze off and then I go back inside after about 5 minutes. So
yeah,
I'm trying to get out there, y'all. I did get a mile and a half out yesterday. That felt good.
Great.
On the track. But yesterday was like 62
that's like half the 5K.
Yeah, and I ran all of it. So, making progress, making my way downtown.
Nice.
But yes, also watching my friends barrel towards some form of oblivion or another and missing them dearly already. And also I watched Deep Space Nine. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about tonight, folks, so I think we should get right into it. Our structure for this TrekChatz is going to be a teensy bit different on account of so we're discussing season 7 part 2 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which we watched. And our usual TrekChatz format is we talk about our experience watching it and then we tier list every episode. The sort of rub with that is that Deep Space Nine season 7 part 2 features what is ostensibly a 9-part finale. It is it's actually like 6 storylines that just boop, 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 continue, as if it's one movie or one long book. It's kind of amazing. And I wanted to talk about generally your thoughts on season 7, but also how you felt about this like extensive finale.
Yeah. So we're going to approach this slightly differently where we'll tier list as normal the first 3 episodes, and then the last 9 we're going to try to separate it out into like what are the discrete plot elements of those individual episodes that we can rank in tier list, and then the continuing threads or like the character arcs we'll sort of pull apart and see how we feel about them in the second half of our episode. As for the your question about the structure, I think this is a really, I have to sort of take it in the context of Star Trek. And in the context of Star Trek, I think it's a really impressive thing what they're doing here, and kind of a strong statement, a last impression of what is Deep Space Nine about, like in a craft way, artistically, in the grand scheme of Star Trek stuff. Because this kind of storytelling, I think, to modern television viewers now is like pretty familiar.
Mm-hmm.
This is your prestige drama every week. There's like a big cast, and you're checking in with, okay, where's, Wayoon in all this? Okay, we get a 5-second scene of Wayoon or something like that. Um, like a Game of Thrones season where sometimes in an episode you see someone for a couple minutes to just like do a little narrative maintenance on where they are. Um, so in some ways it's like not the most remarkable thing for a television show to do, but I think it's pretty special for a Star Trek show to be doing this and to say like, look, Deep Space Nine has been the Trek show that in kind of the scheme of Trek shows up to this point has leaned the most into serialization.
Right.
And now as a final send off, we're going to like fully commit to
It'd be the most
this
serialized
is
show ever.
yeah, and like as far as I'm aware, I mean, I don't know anything about like Star Trek Picard, maybe it's more serialized than I expect it to be. But like you could argue this is the most serialized stretch of Trek in Trek, um, which I think is just in terms of like raw minutes. This is like 10 hours of one straight story. Um, so I think that's something that I really respect, and I think they did a pretty good job with it. Um, and I think it represents well what has been special about Deep Space Nine to me. But I'm curious what you thought about it.
Yeah, just quickly regarding what you said, it's kind of an inverse of how shows do it now, especially how modern Trek does it, where
Mhm,
now we default to serialized storytelling and we kind of have to work and twist our way into episodic storytelling to make a modern TV. That's just like a lot of modern TV is like that. Discoveries like that. It only becomes traditionally episodic after like 3 seasons. And even then, it's
mhm,
like not. There's still arcs that go through the whole show. Um,
mhm,
so this show is kind of like we're gonna fit ourselves into the realm of episodic, but really what we want to do is just like dump a story on you. And when they finally get to, it's magnificent. I think it's like very confident, very bold in its storytelling. It felt absolutely in line with any modern drama I've ever watched. I've been rewatching one of my favorite shows, Station 11, recently because girlfriend on the
mhm,
podcast Kelly is not finally is getting into it with me.
mhm,
And I was like, oh, I haven't had a lot of time to watch TV on my own,
mhm,
and watching that I'm like, oh yeah, like a week to week drama that just goes is non traditional. And then I watch Star Trek and I go, oh no, yeah, this is it too. They do this. Like Xena
mhm,
doesn't do this. Xena has its little storylines, but it's mostly episodic. So it was refreshing. It
mhm,
felt very, very modern. And I I think yeah, it represents like what they built really well, which is these character
mhm,
arcs that develop and change, and these characters like I mean, listen, I knew the only thing I really knew from all of this is that we were gonna get a montage of everybody's lives at the end of the series. Like that just happens.
mhm,
And when we got there, I was like, you guys really earned this. Like I give a lot of shows crap
mhm,
when they do montages like that of like, come on, like none of those shots were that emotional in context, and now out of context, I'm suddenly
mhm,
crying. And it's like, no, yeah, I loved those scenes in
mhm.
context. You guys earned this finale. You did a lot of work to get us here. So I do commend them for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think what they're able to accomplish here is a surprising level of cohesiveness amongst a cohesion amongst those last 9 episodes, thematically and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you get to it, like you're saying, the end of it, like you're saying, it's like, whoa, yeah, this feels earned. This is like schmaltzy as hell, but I'm with you. Um, and I think there's also, even in the episodes that are not directly tied to this like 9 episode arc, this chunk of episodes has what feels like a unifying set of thematic questions around, okay, well, what who's going to lead us into what happens after this story is like a big question that every society in this in this story is asking themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like regime change or like picking leaders, picking visions for the future. And so I think that all of this kind of like knits together in a way that feels like it justifies it being this way. I guess what I'm saying is like it's not a stunt, because I think there are ways that you could describe like, oh, Deep Space Nine, the last 9 episodes are like one big miniseries, and that could sound like a gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there is a sense that like it is that way because it's supposed to be that way, or it's like artistically sound to have it knit together
Yeah.
that closely. So
Yeah. It's my last big point, I guess, on that what you just said and like overall thoughts before we move into our ranking, yeah, is the theme of what do we do next? Who rules us next? What does that look like? Surprisingly resonated with me in our modern day. I think we are
mhm,
also for sure in a period of turmoil in the world, especially in the United States, and we're feeling this question of okay, but what does revolution look like? What does a society that's pushed to the brink look like when they take up arms and say, we don't like the way things are run anymore. We need a change. We're going to force a change upon you. And like, how can that be satisfying? How can that be difficult and scary? And who is sacrificed in a battle like that? I would say that's sort
mhm,
of the overarching theme of Deep Space Nine, but also season 7 of Deep Space Nine specifically. Like this
mhm,
Dominion War has
mhm,
now occupied these people's entire lives, and every single storyline in some way is affected by the Dominion War, whether it's something as small
mhm,
as trade agreements or embargoes, or something as big as literally Jem'Hadar on the ship, or
mhm,
Jem'Hadar blowing up the Defiant, like things like that. So yeah, I definitely want to talk a lot about that, especially with the Cardassians. I think
mhm,
they took the Cardassians and even the Ferengi in some really fascinating directions. So I'm very very
mhm.
looking forward to getting into that.
Yeah. Two quick things off of what you said, and then we can go into individual episodes. First, I think this is the stretch of episodes where, to me, Deep Space Nine felt the most like Babylon 5 in the most complimentary way that I can say
Yeah,
that.
100%.
Because this kind of storytelling is like almost not exactly the norm in B5, because there's plenty of like we're going off and doing weird things and there's side episodes and stuff. But that cohesiveness and the serialization is so deeply embedded in the DNA of Babylon 5, and because of that you're able to have like huge narrative events and changes and follow characters through different phases of their lives and get to similar themes by the end of B5 of like, okay, now what? Or like who's gonna lead us into the next chapter of the story? Um and I think Deep Space Nine ends up being able to do similar things, um, which I think is a I mean that like positively, instead of they're like copying B5 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, the other thing that I was thinking while watching this, I was just reflecting on, it feels so charming to me that when a television show goes for a while and then has the chance to end on purpose, there's kind of an element of the characters. Not only are these characters reckoning with these societal level like changes coming and what does the future look like, but they're reckoning with these interpersonal, like my best friend's gonna move, or like I'm gonna have a different job, or like I have a new girlfriend. There's like all of this personal change that's coming with it, and this sense of like once the fight is over, the band is gonna break up, and we have to like deal with both of those things at the same time, which kind of feels like uh that's almost like a proxy for the writers who've been with each other, and like the cast and crew who've been with each other making this show for
Mm-hmm.
7 years. And it's like we want to send it off, like we love this thing and this team and the way that these characters are attached to it. And so there's kind of a like processing my personal feelings of life change as a creator, and the characters are processing their life change, and they're also experiencing like this societal change.
Mm-hmm.
um so it's just kind of an interesting like media is the message type of thing to me, that in some ways TV show finales are kind of always about dealing with the fact that like your status quo is going to be totally different, and you have no insight into what it's going to be like on the other side. um
Nice Marshall
so
McLuhan line
yeah,
chop, by the way. I just wanted to hold
thank you,
space
thank
for
you,
that.
thank you,
That was good.
thank you.
Mhm.
um but yeah, so because this is basically like the leave the keys on the counter at the end of Friends is like kind of
Yeah.
what this is
It's a
to an extent.
finale about about endings. Like that's what you're kind of getting at, is that
Yeah.
the Babylon 5 finale is also very much about, and both quote unquote
Hmm.
finales, um the literal janitor being the creator of the show turning the lights off, or in this case the like looking out the window one final time, like it's a finale, or this is a final arc about ending things, which I think is really fun.
Yeah, and I think what I'm driving at is like it feels like any TV show that is able to last long enough and be successful enough that it knows that its ending is happening
Hmm.
is going to create an ending that's about endings.
Bingo. Bingo.
So let's examine that, I
Yeah.
think. So we'll start with our tier list. We have tiers S, A, B, C, D, F, and bad but actually good. And we'll start with season 4, episode 14,
Season 7.
Chimera. 7. Season 7, episode 14, Chimera. So this is the episode where Odo and Miles are on a runabout, and then they like find a changeling, another changeling. But this isn't one of the founders. This guy says stuff like metamorph and monoform. And what the heck?
Huh?
Turns out he is also one of the 100, like Odo, who was sent out from the founder homeworld to like scout the galaxy, learn stuff about the universe. And much like Odo, he's been kind of adrift without a people. And so this episode is about the two of them meeting and comparing thoughts about what it means to be a changeling amongst humanoids, uh, and that sort of thing. What did you think about Chimera?
I think I like this episode more in hindsight than I liked while watching it, because while
Yes,
watching it I
agreed.
was like, "Oh, Odo found another changeling. Like, what? We've literally done this." But then
Hmm.
this being the last solo or like Odo centric episode before the
Hmm.
wind up means like this is our chance to set the stage for what does Odo think about the changing people and his relationship to them, and what's good
Hmm.
and bad about them. He has a character who is pretty much a mirror reflection of him, saying, why do you look like the humans when you're around them? Do you think they only hit the line, they tolerate you, Odo, because you emulate them, is so
Hmm.
charged with metaphor and what I like to call juice. It's
Hmm.
such a compelling argument that this episode leaving Odo to be like, why do I like these guys so much? Like, why, and what am I proud of about being a changeling? What am I not proud of? Is perfect for like where it takes Odo over the course of the finale. So I definitely like this episode a lot more in hindsight, but I think it was also very well acted. Some great lines, some great memorable lines, and
Hmm.
kind of beautiful and touching at the end as well. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, this episode's value comes in kind of the intellectual uh
Mm-hmm.
aspects of
Mm-hmm.
it. So it's sort of you get what you bring to it kind of an experience. I don't know that it's in and of itself the most entertaining episode, but I my mind was like, "Whoa, whoa, wow, this is really thematically rich." And I think in some ways this is a great way to kind of bring together all of the little conflicts and questions about Odo's personhood and like the various facets of it, how he relates to them and himself and other people. Um, like I think in some ways this episode is a sort of like autism neurodiversity thing because this other changeling is like, dude, you're like spending all of this effort masking your what you want to be doing or what feels comfortable to you to not like make other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
um the whole bit where he's like, link with me on the promenade, or like, turn to mist, like who cares, I'm just fog. um and all the ways that characters around that Odo tries to tell him, like, well, it's just going to make people uncomfortable, so don't do that. Or Cisco says, like, the whole thing with the Klingons where the Klingons attacked him, and then it's like, oh, he provoked the Klingons. Odo's like, what do you mean provoked them? He was just fog. He was a threatening mist. And Cisco's like, well, I mean, yeah, that's not illegal, but
It
it's
made people
weird.
uncomfortable. It put people on edge.
Like, it's, you shouldn't, maybe you shouldn't be weird. That's not smart. Um, so I thought that was a really cool conflict to situate our characters in, and kind of like a precursor to the conflict between Odo and Cisco later in the season around the the virus and Section 33 and
31.
31,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And then the other metaphor that I found in this that I thought was really special. This was kind of the episode where I bought into Kira
I was
Odo
about to
as a
say this. I
relationship.
was totally gonna say this. Yeah. Same.
I'm curious how you felt about it.
I, the relationship between Kieran and Otis is one of adults, right? So it's they're
Mhm.
no longer like, do I like you? Do I not like you? I think that's what rubbed us wrong about the initial goings of the relationship, is it felt
Mhm.
very immature, and it's like these are grown ass adults who are talking about like,
Yeah.
can I love you? Can we be intimate? And now it's like, if I want to love you, I have to let you be free. I have to let you go. And loving you
Mm-hmm.
means giving you the option, Odo, to go with Lon and go be a changeling. I'm gonna let him free, and I'm gonna let you do it too if you want. And Odo
Mm-hmm.
coming back to her is a perfect example of love, right? Of like, if you let something free,
Mm-hmm.
it'll come back to you. I thought that was profound. I thought that Kira's confidence in being able to say that, of like, yeah, Odo, I can't
Mm-hmm.
control your relationship to your people, is
Mm-hmm.
again like, we're underlining something that's going to become important later, is that Odo is like, he still cares about the changelings and still wants to be a changeling, but like, he needs to make the choice to stay. He can't be forced to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
loved all the stuff with Kira. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think my frustration with their romantic relationship before this episode was that it was kind of like you're saying, just sort of, let me sweep you off your feet in the middle of the promenade, and a big gesture and whatever. Like, they can have that, but
Mm-hmm.
their relationship has always been one of a deep abiding respect for one another, and respect, like, in the context of a really complicated, nuanced world where both of them have had to like scrap and like self-define and become really strong individuals.
Yeah.
And so I think what's so compelling about their relationship in this episode is this question of, how do we preserve the space for my partner to be this sort of like scrappy, self-defining individual that I want them to be, because that's what I love about them, while accepting that like that might end the relationship potentially. Like, people aren't guaranteed to grow together. It would be nice if we do. Uh, it takes work to do that, but um, sometimes you grow and you end up being like, oh, we're just kind of not in the same place anymore. Like, we don't fit together
Yeah.
the way that we did. Um, which and I think another kind of layer on it that I love about this episode is there is kind of a like a gender queerness thing with Odo, which I feel like we haven't talked about a ton with his character, but this sort of idea of like there's this guy who's saying to him, "Oh, you didn't know that we could be fire? Like, yeah, you could be whatever. You could be fog or fire, or there's like so much that you could be
When
that you
you
haven't
leave the
even
confines of
considered."
humanoid forms, when you leave that confine, you can be anything.
Yeah. And there is kind of like a queer experience in people around Odo saying, "Well, but don't turn into fog." Like that feels weird. I don't know. We don't like that. Like we don't want to see you kind of like moving beyond the boundaries of what we define as acceptable, or like we don't want to see you change. We don't want to watch you change. That's
Yeah,
weird.
you're not
That
fog.
creeps us out.
There's something eerie about you being
Yeah.
fog because you're not real fog, and it's like, oh, I see. Yeah, I totally see the metaphor you're pulling out here.
And there's also just kind of the hatefulness grounded represented by the Klingons and like some of the humans in just, "Oh, you're a changeling. Like you can make yourself look like somebody else. That's bad." Like the fact that you can do that is frightening to me and threatening to me. And like there's kind of a queer experience metaphor there too. And to then loop that back into the relationship where Odo's having these questions of like, okay, well, I guess I haven't allowed myself to explore the full extent of who I am. And as I'm starting to question that, my partner is getting a little uncomfortable because she's like, well, what does this mean? Like, I want more insight into your experience. And then Odo's kind of like, ah, maybe I shouldn't bother doing this because it's like creating weird vibes. And then he has this self-consciousness of, I love the scene where he's like, I don't know if you really see me. And she's like, no, I see you. Like, I love you. And he's like, no, this is just a form. Like, this isn't me. I'm not a dude. This is a shape that I take. And he's worried that Kira is in love with the shape that he's taken instead of him. And it's like, damn, that is that is some deep shit.
Mm-hmm.
And for that to end with him turning into fog in the room with her, and this like beautiful moment of his expansiveness and her like rapturous acceptance of that, just kind of basking in his like glow, is so beautiful.
I
um
teared up.
yeah, it's really special, that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And like so it's sort of like Kira and Odo are kind of like in the straightest queer relationship, if that makes sense.
It does. It
It's like
does.
this it's like this relationship where they can put on the tux and the dress and go to Las Vegas in Vic Fontaine's simulation, and people can be like, "Oh, that's like a cishet straight couple." And I think, speaking as somebody who's in a relationship like that, that can kind of present as looking that way, but then on the inside, it's more complicated, and
Same.
it's sort of like, is this a queer relationship if we're both like kinda, but we ended up in this like more traditional looking thing. um
Yep.
and I think this episode is just a beautiful representation of like how a relationship that looks like that can still contain so much nuance and personal expression, and it's really really beautiful.
I think this is an A or an S.
I think so, yeah. uh
Pick one.
it's tough. I'll give it an S. I'm willing to go S.
I
on
think
Chimera.
your espousing of it is what brings it up to S for me.
Yeah, I think what I got from it was really special. I don't
Yeah.
know. I could have easily seen it on a different day and like not have hit in that way.
Again,
But
especially if you don't know that like Kira is eventually going to let Odo choose himself, choose his people, right? Like that.
mm-hmm,
This
mm-hmm.
this arc completes itself later.
Yeah.
Our next episode to rank is 715. Bada bing, bada bang. Which you had to have this episode, man. It had to exist. We knew something like this was coming, but as it showed itself to
Mhm.
me, I said, "Oh wow, now we're doing the Vic Fontaine heist episode." And
Mhm.
you know what, Magellan? By the time the whole squad is dressed to the nines, walking up Las Vegas in that iconic shot, going down the hall, I was like,
Mhm.
this is actually the right time to do this. Because it
Mhm.
feels like, and I think TNG might have had an episode like this. Just one final, like, let's do something really silly and fun and light before the battling
Mhm.
starts. But it feels like the characters on the show know that too. Like, they are
Yes.
kind of
Right.
like, we're not going to get another chance to all be together and put on fun outfits and save the casino. So let's
Yep.
have our heist. Let's give everybody a role. Let's beat up Mr. Zemo. Let's get through this. You do this. You guys be the liar. You be the distraction. Nog can do the technology stuff. And it's fun. It's fun as hell. Do we
Mhm.
I never liked Vic Fontaine that much. I always thought it was kind of a corny, weird offshoot thing that messed with the flow of the show, but you can't tell me that we get to the third act of this episode and you see Cisco singing "The Best Is Yet to Come" with Vic Fontaine on stage.
Mhm.
You can't tell me you're not happy. You can't tell me that didn't bring joy to your eyes, joy to your heart.
Mhm.
It's great.
Mhm.
I like this episode a
Mhm.
lot. I think it's fun.
Yep. I I am a Vic Fontaine enjoyer. I am a Great American Songbook enjoyer. I like Vegas movies. I like heist movies. I like this. I like the holodeck. It's just it's a little treat. It's a little appetizer.
Totally.
Um
And a moose boosh.
and yeah, and it's a classic, like you're saying, season pacing thing of, okay, we're about to get into the shit. So we're gonna do just a quick fun little loop where we can feel like we accomplished something, so that you can know going into this, like, these characters can make it work. They can win if they work together.
Yes.
Um, and like you're saying, you see the characters giving it that stake too, um, which was a really fun thing that everybody like immediately when Bashir and Miles learn that Vic Fontaine's in trouble and the his like buddy from Philly is here and now I run the casino and get out of here, Vic. And they go to the bridge, they're talking to everybody, or they go to what's it called? Ops, and they're talking about Vic Fontaine and the trouble he's in. And then Cisco comes in. They try to tell him, and he's like, "Okay, great. And when is everybody going back to work?"
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh
We're
no!"
we're gonna like
But
do a
then,
we're gonna do a thing now, right? We do a thing.
yeah, but then, despite Cisco's disapproval, I love that it just keeps spreading to people and like gets to Cassidy, and now Cassidy is so invested in Vic Fontaine.
Yeah,
Uh,
we gotta say Vic. It's Vic. Vic is the
yeah,
rec center. Vic is the rec center at the set. Like, of course you have to save the rec center.
exactly. Exactly. And it's another baseball episode kind of
Yeah.
where it's like, look, we know that this is fake, but there's something about everybody setting aside their like judgment and choosing to care that is nourishing
Yeah.
and necessary in dark times. Like, we it's less about accomplishing the goal and more about being in community with other people who are working as hard as you are to accomplish the goal and like really care about it.
Yes.
Um, and that's such a cool thing that there's like this abstract value to everyone being like, bada bing, all right, let me go to the craps table and da 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 ba.
It's a group role play.
So fun.
It's group play.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Let's have a little fun together. I love yeah, I love all the outfits. I love all the different character choices and each role everybody gets assigned. I love Mr. Zemo, the grumpy, tired old mob guy who's like, "Come on, kill him already!" Ugh, it's just so old, so decrepit. I love
Mhm.
this now recurring imagery of O'Brien and Bashir have the Alamo recreation that they make. They set that up this one with the movie. They watch an Alamo movie and then they kind of do an Alamo thing, like they do a little heist like that movie.
Mhm.
I think that my favorite line though in all of this is when Cassidy's getting really into being the sort of seductress of the character of the role, and
Mhm.
you know what I'm already gonna bring up. And Cisco's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you going to the '60s?" And she's like, "What's wrong with that? I'm
Mhm.
like so hot, and everybody
Yeah.
likes me." And he's like, "They don't treat black people well."
Yeah.
I was like, the self awareness is amazing, and I'm so glad they included that line because the
Yep.
whole gimmick feels weird when they don't acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But Cassidy even says she's like, maybe this is a version of the '60s where things are clean and nice and they are okay with us. And he's like, I just don't think that's real. Like, I think
Yeah.
you're not being treated as well as you think you are. Um, Profound. Did not need to be in this
Yeah.
otherwise very goofy episode, but like, yeah, say it, put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool, there's like a couple layers on which that's operating because just on the character level for Cisco, when he's so dismissive of everybody at the beginning of the episode, I'm like, what the hell, man? You were making everybody play baseball like 3 episodes ago. And you had no problem with that for with over this like rivalry with a Vulcan guy. And now you're like, why are all my officers going to Vegas? Um, so you sort of it gives weight and an explanation to why he relates to this differently than he does to the baseball stuff. Because also, there's like a history that he can latch onto and care about the desegregation of baseball and
Yes.
that kind of stuff,
Mm.
which is cool. And also, he's a character who um, has had his like connections to the '50s world where his character's race was hugely central to that plot and that character's experience. So it would be really jarring for Cisco as a character to exist in like both of these versions of visiting the past, one where we're going to like take race very seriously and ground it in sort of like real experience, and this other one where we're going to like just pretend it's colorblind and not worry about it.
Uh-huh.
So for him to like reconcile those things, I think is is really important for his character. And then there's this level of like the show commenting on itself where it's like, hey, look, we know that it's kind of a weird Star Trek thing to play make believe in the past and like ignore all the uncomfortable stuff because we want to get dressed up and play pretend.
Yeah.
And we acknowledge that different people are going to relate to that differently and
Mm-hmm.
feel different levels of comfort. And I think they do a good job of Cassidy expressing a grounded way to engage with that, which is like, yeah, we're not erasing historical injustice. We're creating an opportunity to imagine something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
there's kind of a power within being able to imagine, and not let like other things limit what you allow yourself to imagine or to do. And
This
I
is
think that
our
that's really
holodeck. We can make whatever we want on our holodeck. Like it's again talking about
yeah,
cork and infinite possibility. Like, yes, we're doing the '60s, but we can make a version of the '60s where things are better, and a
right.
future where things are better.
Yeah, and it that doesn't necessarily mean that we're forgetting the way that it was.
Correct.
Um, and so in a way that ends up being kind of the same lesson as the '50s story where where Avery Brooks's character is experiencing an unjust society
Uh huh.
and he's imagining how things could be different. And like that, the way
Yeah.
that imagination and reality relate, I think work the same way in this conversation between the two of them as
Yeah.
it worked in that episode, which is really cool.
There is some historical context too to this one that I didn't pick up on until I read about it. The fact being, so you're talking about the racial stuff, and Cisco sings at the end of the episode. You know, having a black
Mhm.
person singing on stage was like a big deal. So it kind of represents this closing of the loop. Like we did create a better world. That also ties into the fact that the best is yet to come. One of the most popular recordings of that song was Frank Sinatra with Count Basie, who is an African American singer.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And if you really want to dig into things, The Best Is Yet to Come is one. It's like the last song that Sinatra sang in public before he retreated into private life, and it's like what it used to say on his tombstone before his family changed it was "The best is yet to come." So it is also this like one. It's like the last Vic Fontaine song, the last Sinatra song, is the one that we sing with Vic and Cisco. So it fits very perfectly into this part of the finale, very poetically.
And it's a song that is embodying what Cassidy's saying, which is like, we can acknowledge that things were bad or that there's hardship and hold on to hope and optimism and imagination because the best is yet to come. Correct. Which is really cool.
I dare you to rank this episode.
It kind of slows down. Like, if I'm gonna be picky as like a heist movie lover, they do the thing where it's like, here's the plan, and they do it in a fun way where everybody takes turns narrating their part of the plan, and then of course they do it and it doesn't go right, and that part's just kind of like long. It
Pacing's
goes
not
exactly
amazing.
And it goes exactly how you would expect it to go. So that kind of brings the fun factor down a bit for me. So it's like a high B, low A, in my opinion. But I think it's such a fun episode.
I would give it an A for fun.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I love the scene where Odo is with all the casino tough guys at the bar, like he's doing a magic trick for them, but he's just like changing the shape of his hand.
His hand?
And they're like, wow, Pally, where'd you learn to do that? And then one of them's like, so where are you from again? And he says, Bajor. And the guy says, that's in Jersey, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Jersey.
So good. So funny.
You want to talk about 7/16?
I do. One last quick thing on Bada Bing Bada Bang. I appreciate that they didn't do the thing of like, we're stuck in Vic Fontaine world, and if you die in Vic Fontaine world, you die in real life, because that like makes it even more special that the characters are choosing to care, because they can leave the program and they could just reset it or something.
Yeah. The only stakes are like, what they said earlier, which is like, if we reset it, then Vic loses his memory. We don't want Vic to quote unquote die. That's not fair to him.
Yeah.
The hologram.
And it just makes the stakes completely symbolic.
Yes.
As opposed to like, we're not saving anybody's life or anything like that. So it's not this classic like holodeck episode inventing tension that's kind of dumb. So I like that.
Agreed.
Anyway. Episode 16. This is a Latin phrase. Inter arma enim silent legis, which basically means like,
in times of war, the law goes silent.
Yeah. What'd you think of this, huh?
Oh man, I feel mixed on Section 31. I feel really mixed. I like this episode for Section 31. I think the speech at the end with Bashir and the Ross is his name. I have to remember that name because it comes up a lot.
Admiral Ross. Yeah.
Admiral Ross. It's like one of the best speeches in Star Trek. I was like, this is an acting school kind of speech. This is fucking awesome. Everything that we got there was like a little bit convoluted and a little bit confusing, but like at its core, this is Bashir's final stand to be like, your arc at the end of the series is going to be about whether or not you want to uncover Section 31 and what does that mean for you. Because this is an episode that disillusions Bashir. I felt really bad for the guy by the end of it. Essentially, they have a new assignment for him. Sloan appears to him in his bed. Very weird and kind of kinky of Sloan to just like sit by Bashir's bed to be like, you have work to do. It's 3 a.m. Get up. Essentially, Sloan is trying to destabilize the war, and he's trying to. What we end up realizing is that he's testing Bashir, who is in turn testing a Romulan if she's going to be a good puppet for him to like guide the first Starfleet to guide the direction of the war from here. There's a trial. Even though Bashir finds out this was all a big plan, Starfleet essentially tells him it's not your business. This is off the record. You don't get to stop this. And Bashir kind of ends the episode realizing like, I worked for a fundamentally corrupt organization.
Yeah, I appreciate this episode and the way they're doing Section 31 in the context of sort of like Cold War United States espionage stuff, like CIA coups and that kind of thing. That's what this feels like, because the whole thing that Sloan is doing is this convoluted process where he's putting Bashir in a situation such that they can essentially put in charge of Romulus somebody who Section 31 has influence over.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it feels very United States in the 20th century that that guy who they're putting into power is like vocally anti-federation, it like kind of a not a great dude,
Uh-huh.
but he's in the pocket of Section 31, so Starfleet is cool with it. Um, which just kind of feels like the CIA arming the Taliban to fight the USSR, and then whoops, like, or like, let's get into, you know, Latin American countries and install a dictator who's gonna send us oil, or, you know, like, let's help the do this stuff in Iran to whatever. So um I appreciate that stuff. I think where it's kind of a confusing episode because like Bashir's in the dark, so we're in the dark, and it's like who's getting tricked? Wait,
Yeah.
this person got tricked. Wait, Sloan isn't dead. He teleported away,
Yeah.
or something. So that's kind of confusing. And also, I think I'm not sold on Bashir and on Section 31 being connected to Bashir's character.
Say more.
Because it just feels like in the back half of the series, and we're going to talk more about character arcs later. But in the back half of the series, they kind of started to redirect what Bashir was about. Because he was sort of the like, oh, I'm like book smart pretty boy who's here uh, looking for adventure, and I'm like not taking life seriously the way I'm supposed
Mm-hmm.
to.
Mm-hmm.
And then we sort of get into like, actually he has a big secret and he feels like an imposter with the like the thing, I forget what it's called. Him and Khan are genetically modified
Yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah. Yeah.
um and then it's they're kind of saying the connection, and what Sloan says is like, you're a guy who's kept secrets, you like secrets, I got secrets, and that just feels a little flimsy to me. That Bashir, but then you could argue, well, but Bashir has spent so much time being best friends with Garrick and is so like intrigued by Garrick's like mysterious life,
Yeah.
and he's always doing his little Bashir James Bond
Uh-huh.
holodeck things. So I guess you can make the argument that it is connected to his character, but it feels a little more tenuous of a connection than I would like it to be, is my thought on it.
I think Sloan even says at one point in either in this one or in the last Section 31 episode, like part of the reason that they chose Bashir is that he's a nice person. And that Section 31 needs like nice fall guys to take bait and to be, it's like hard to believe that Bashir would betray people. Like, yeah, as you said, Bashir is somebody who likes to play in the realm of being duplicitous, being sneaky, but like he's a fundamentally like kind person. He's a doctor. He has
Mm-hmm.
worked hard to get where he is. He feels very strongly that he had to earn his way there, even though, despite the circumstances of his birth.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also why Section 31 chooses Bashir. And if we're gonna go meta, like we got to give Bashir something to do besides fall in love with
True.
with Dax.
True.
You know.
Yeah, true.
So this episode doesn't really dig into the interiority of Sloan as much as I wanted to. That's what we get out of the second one. But yeah, this kind of felt like watching like an espionage movie, like a Cold War espionage movie.
Yeah.
You just replace like Russians with like Romulans, and you pretty much you've got a sauce baking here. Um,
Yeah.
I did right at the end because that speech with him and Ross, where Ross is like, "Yeah, we're off the record. You don't get to help," and Bashir's like, "How many people have to die? You know, how many
Mhm.
governments do we have to upset before it's enough for Starfleet to realize like what they're doing?" It reminds me of two things. Number one, when we first made this big push on our podcast about like Starfleet is like a corrupt organization, and we got pushback from the
Mhm.
listeners being like, I don't think Starfleet is. Well, I think what they were saying is like Starfleet is not an evil organization. They're corrupt, and
Mhm.
there's corruption within, but they're not evil. They're not
Mhm.
fascists specifically. They're fascistic. They're not fascists. And we were kind of saying
Mhm.
last
Mhm.
time, I think on the last episode, like that's not something that's worth splitting hairs for. The other thing is there are a lot of like modern private and public organizations like Starfleet where we can only work under them because we assume that they are like on the up and up. And like things
Mhm.
only feel
Mhm.
good about certain industries because we're like, oh yeah, I'm sure this is probably all for the good of the betterment of mankind.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, yeah, if you dug into most big corporations with millions or billions of dollars, you're going to be like somebody somewhere high up is like moving some money around or is just incompetent and has like been wasting taxpayer money. Like it's just we find this out very easily. People have
Mhm.
like Bashir moments like this all the time, and it's very, it takes the scales from your eyes a lot. So that part I
Mhm.
related a lot to was, you know, like I just started this new job, right? And I'm all excited about like I work for a good company and I feel really good about the work I do. And I'm like, if I had a moment like this one where I found
Mhm.
out like the shit that my company was doing, I'd be like, how do I go to work tomorrow? That was how I
Mhm.
felt at the end of the
Right.
Bashir speech. It was like, how does he go to work tomorrow? And like clock
Right.
in, at
Right.
0500 or whatever. Because isn't the next one? Oh no, that's the finale. Is when he wakes up at like 7 or 8, it's 5 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
How does Bashir do that after all of
Um,
this?
yeah, I think what this episode does that's really important for Section 31 is it, because I think up to this point, we've sort of assumed, oh, Section 31 is this weird, self-contained, it's not accountable to anyone. Starfleet doesn't even know it exists, and it's doing these kind of like rogue things. And in this episode, it's like, well, actually, Admiral Ross was in on the plan. So now it's not as easy to delineate between here's what Starfleet's doing and here's what Section 31 is doing. Um, and it raises these questions of like culpability and intent and muddies the waters because, like you were saying before, um, I think especially in the modern day, it's very important to people that they are aligning themselves with a virtuistic cause or a
Yeah,
virtuistic
yeah.
organization
Mm-hmm.
and virtuous, I guess. And they want to feel that that's the case. Starfleet wants to, or the Federation wants to kind of give the impression of we are going out into the galaxy, we're doing good stuff, but any power that is expanding to that degree and that is consolidating military authority in the process
Mm-hmm.
is an empire. And if you have an empire, you're going to do imperial stuff to maintain your
Yeah,
empire.
that's how it works.
So Section 31 is like not kind of a random offshoot. This is like how the empire makes sure that it can conduct these clandestine empire consolidating activities while keeping its hands clean over here. And so I think that's like a big kind of glass shatter moment for Bashir of, oh, this isn't just Sloane's little project. Sloane is like a part of the project
Mm-hmm.
overall.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's really, um, it's really important that this episode does that, especially for where Starfleet and Section 31 goes in the last arc of the show.
Yeah, the last note I have being that the title is I believe from Julius Caesar, or it's from like the Roman Empire, because Ross says it to Bashir like, oh, in times of war we don't really have laws, and Bashir's like, seriously, you're gonna bring up the Roman Empire, like one of the most like fundamentally corrupt things brought down by its own corruption? Really interesting. I read the same textbooks that you did, loser. I know what that means. So I love that moment of like, you can't just say Latin at me, you dick. I read the book.
Yeah, and it you know, I think another theme of this back half of the show is when people say like absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think the way that power corrupts is you feel like you're doing the right thing, then you get some more power, and maybe you don't get it in the right way, but you're like, well, but I'm doing the right thing, so I might as well use this power that I have now to keep doing more of the right thing. And it's a question of like, when does that become doing the wrong thing? Because you could be Admiral Ross and be like, well, we're Starfleet, we're doing good stuff, and sure, Section 31, they shouldn't have done that, but now that they've done it, it's actually pretty helpful, so we're going to capitalize on that. And it's like, okay, but now you're opportunistic and like amoral eventually. And we'll talk about Kai Wynn, but Kai Wynn kind of finds herself in a similar situation where it's like, well, I'm doing the right thing for right reasons. It's like, maybe at some point you were, but then at some point you just kind of became attached to your own power and started viewing any expansion of your power as good. And that's sort of what's happening with Starfleet here, which is interesting.
I can't wait to talk about that scene where Kira's like, all you have to do is step down from power, and Kywin's like, oh, come on. It's so good. Oh, let's get there.
Yeah, let's get there. Okay, so 16, I think that's like a B.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I wish I liked Section 31 more than I do, but I think they're pushing it. They're really shoving it hard this season.
Yeah, I just don't know how you can give us more Section 31 and have it be good. Like, you kind of need to be very careful and particular about, like, this is the CIA in the 20th century and it's bad, and before it just becomes like, they're cool spies.
Boom, you did it. That's exactly what happens in modern Trek, is they turn to the Section 31 into cool spies. You absolutely got it.
Yep.
Really fun stuff.
All right, so begins now our 9-episode arc to close out the season. We can cover these episodes a little more quickly, and just try to hit like what happens plot wise in each one, and then we can have more holistic conversations about characters and arcs and stuff after our break. But the first of these episodes is season 7, episode 17, Penumbra. And this is the beginning of the stage setting for what's to come. So Worf is lost. Ezri goes out to find him. Then we get a lot of Ezri Worf conflict and stuff. On Deep Space Nine, Cassidy and Sisko are starting to plan a wedding, and that's fun. And then over with the bad guys, Ducat's back. Hey, Damar, it's me. And now I got surgery to look like a Bajoran. Those are kind of like the big things that happen in Penumbra. Very much set up for kind of the first phase of this 9-parter.
Oh, and then the prophets are like, do not marry Cassidy Yates. Do not go with Cassidy Yates. And Sisko's like, what the fuck? That's the one thing I want. And they're like, that's the one thing you shouldn't do. And he's like, no, that's that. The shot where Ducat walks in as a Bajoran is never gonna leave my brain. That's one of the most disturbing, beyond the pale things in a character whose whole back half of his story has been about going beyond the pale and then some. I was like gripping my chair, like, you are fucking kidding me. So that's the beginning of it, and you're like, I wonder how bad they're gonna how they're gonna handle this shit, and they certainly do. So Yeah, that was my favorite part of the episode, just the end. But I think, yeah, the setting up the Dax Worf stuff is like really charming, and it's something that they gave a lot of room to breathe. One could argue that
Mhm.
this is not where they wanted Worf's storyline to go, but I think that they incorporate Ezri into Worf's storyline with the
Mhm.
overall Klingon Empire overall
Mhm.
in a good way.
Mm.
But yeah, it's mostly set up this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't love the Esri Wharf stuff in this one. I have very mixed feelings about Esri's role in this half of the season, which we can talk about more.
Uh-huh.
Like it's just sort of feels like she's trying to figure out whose girlfriend she wants to be,
Uh-huh.
and it
Totally.
feels dumb. Um,
I agree.
and I generally just don't like plots where the whole plot is that two characters are stuck in a room together and they're really annoyed at each other. Like I find that very grating as a thing. Um, but where they end up, I think it's they needed to do it, so I'm glad that they did.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Ducat kind of looks nude as a Bajoran. Um, but yeah, a lot of setup. I don't know. Penumbra's fine. It's like a C or a B. I found it kind of boring.
It's just all, yeah, it's all set up.
Yeah.
I'd give it a B.
Do you have a take on C or B?
I give it a B.
Yeah, that's good. So then we get to episode 18, Till Death Do Us Part. And this is where we bring Kai Wynn into the story.
My first
She
note:
comes
go away,
in
Kywin. Go away. Go away.
she comes in the most deliciously Kai Wynn way possible, where she says, Cisco, I heard you were getting married. You must have thought I was busy. I can officiate it. Like, let me just move some things around. And he's like, bruh, all right, whatever. Um, so she's just kind of inserting herself in here. I think this is also where she starts to get visions and she thinks the prophets are speaking to her. Like this, the Cisco's lost his way. You're the emissary now. And she's like, of course, fine, I'm ready. This is my
That's
moment.
yeah.
Um, so there's that stuff. There's more kind of like Worf Esri. They have a little kissy kissy. Worf's like, great, so you're my wife again. This is awesome. And Esri's like, I don't know, man.
She goes to sleep and
Um,
says Julian in her sleep, and it's like, God damn it.
sucks so much. Um, Ducat gives Damar a pep talk, and Damar's like, yeah, maybe I'm not a piece of shit. Maybe I could be something
Maybe I could
again.
be a woke king. This is a fun way to discuss the episodes. I kind of like this lighter
And then
pace.
it all ends with the founders being like, and now we're going to ally with the Breen. And that is such a big reveal that it ends the episode and changes everything.
And unless
Um,
you're me and you remember when we met the Breen, and you're like, who the fuck are the Breen? They wear helmets. They're from
right.
that episode. They're from that arc where I think it's the first time we heard about them at least. Where it's Kira and Ducat go onto the planet to
Yeah.
find his daughter, and it's like, oh my god, the evil Breen, undefeatable. And I literally wrote in
Yeah.
the chat Discord, I was like, why do we care at this point in the series who the Breen are? It's really just, I think that they work themselves into the overall story of these episodes better, but it's just the bad guys have an extra faction. And this is my problem with the Breen. This is my opportunity to talk about it
Yeah.
because they
Let's
don't care
talk
much.
about the Breen. Yeah.
They wear the big stupid helmets, and the whole
Yep.
time they're like, why do they wear the helmets? And it's like, we don't know. Their planet
Yep.
is fine. I love that. I think that's a great reason to make somebody wear a helmet in your Star Trek show where makeup is expensive. Um, later on in in the Star Trek franchise, they will explain why they wear helmets, and it's like, can you just let the mystery
Mm,
be? Can you just be the
mm,
leftovers once and let one mystery be, please? So
mm-hmm,
they will retroactively make the Breen less cool, but the idea that they wear helmets for reasons you're not allowed to know is sick.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's such a, they kind of um, put themselves into a tricky spot with all the chess pieces and the factions. Because like the humans are our main faction, sort of, or the Federation rather. The Klingons, we've kind of like resolved the tension with the Klingons, and in that the episode where Sloane's talking to Bashir about who's going to be left standing after this,
Yeah.
they basically agree like the Klingons have expended a ton of resources to fight this war. So when this is over, they're going to have to rebuild. Like we're not worried about them, and they're like the closest allies with the Federation they've ever been. Um, so they're not going to join the Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
The Romulans uh, are too smart to join the losing side at the end, so
Yeah.
they're not going to do that.
You're right. They just
And
have
also
to throw in an extra faction because all the existing factions are busy.
to like raise the stakes, I guess.
Yeah.
But it to me it doesn't raise the stakes because then we have so many scenes where the founder talking to the Breen, she's like making promises to the Breen that she's not intending to keep, and the Breen's like, cool, we're gonna rule Earth, that's awesome, all right, I'm gonna go fight. And you don't ever see the Breen's face or hear them speak, you don't understand who they are or what they want whatsoever. So all you know is that they're complete marks. They're like so
Yeah.
dumb. They've got big
Yeah.
guns and big suits, and they are like joining onto a dying cause, thinking that they're gonna profit
Get a
big.
piece of it. Yeah.
And it just makes them look dumb. Like I'm not scared that they're in the fight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird thing, but they didn't really have any other options, so it makes sense.
I get how they get here.
Yeah. But it also kind of bums me out because I was excited for I think seasons and seasons ago for the Dominion stuff to feel kind of like the Skrull invasion. Like, whoa, we've got changelings like all over our command structure. Oh my God. Martok was a changeling. What the heck? Whoa, this Admiral Ross was a changeling this whole time. And they kind of just stopped doing that. And the founders just started being the Axis powers almost.
Totally.
Which just makes them more boring and like less scary uh, as villains. But anyway,
The Breen.
the Breen, yeah, Ezra's in love with Julian. Yeah, and Worf is like such a misogynist in these episodes, and so like slut shamey. It sucks. Like I get it; it's true to his character. He's been that way before, but it's just a bummer, man. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to hear you in Klingon call Ezri a floozy or something because you got a problem with yourself.
I like
Anyway,
that Esri is the type of girlfriend who, even as Esri, not as the Jadzia and Esri are two different types of like strong-willed woman. Where
uh-huh.
Jadzia is like, I can just simply kick your ass. You don't scare me because I can kill you. And Esri is like, you don't scare me because I'm self-confident and I went to therapy.
Yes, yeah,
I like that we're starting to draw that line here between the two of them. They're both
yeah,
confident enough to handle
agreed.
Worf, but in different ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. What till death do us part? B.
I don't know. I don't know how to rate these. Yeah, B. I like the part where Ducat's like, "Howdy, I'm a Bajoran humble farmer. I'm the guy from your dreams," and she's like, "I'm in love with you. We're gonna have
Oh my
babies together."
god! Oh my god! Oh my
Sucks.
god!
Sucks. Yes.
Speaking of, then we get into episode 19, Strange Bedfellows, and those are two of our strange bedfellows. Um,
The,
the first quote I wrote down
yeah.
is Wayun
Yeah.
wanting to imprison Worf and Ezri together. He says, I find interspecies mating rituals fascinating to watch. You freaky
You're a
ass.
freaky ass. My first quote was
uh,
Damar being like, "Wait, my territory belongs to the founders? I thought it was mine." And the founder is like, "No, dude, you work for me. What's wrong with you? I'm giving your shit to
yeah.
the Breen." And he's like, "Are they really going to take it?" And she's like, "I don't know. I don't know what they're taking. They don't get any of this at the end of the day. Don't tell them And the Breen is like 2 feet away. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah. Yeah, the founders really get so what's the word? like prideful.
Yeah.
You know, like
Arrogant.
it's like arrogant, like, oh, we can't fail and everybody's beneath us, so I'm just gonna start treating everybody like absolute dog shit. And
Yeah.
Tamar's like, wait, what the hell? This is not what I signed
I
up for.
love
This
Damar's.
sucks.
Damar's arc starting here is so good.
Incredible
Like,
arc.
he's like, I'm
Incredible
on the
stuff.
side with the Keystone Cops. Like, I'm on the side with the bumbling fuckasses. Why am I on the side of the war that's like doing things?
Yeah.
All we do is collect
He has a
factions and blow things up here.
he has a great line. Worf kills Wei-Yun,
Yeah, what
and
you in
then
7?
Damar says, "You should have killed me. There's only one Damar."
He's Peepaw. That's my grandpa right there. I love
So
Damar.
funny. Yeah.
He's like, I don't clone myself. That guy's gonna clone himself in 5 minutes tops. Why'd you snap his neck?
Uh-huh.
He knows he's
Yeah.
cooked. At this point, this is the beginning of Damar being like, I'm looking to my left, I'm looking to my right, and I have no allies. I only have shooters. I want to be on the side of the shooters.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah. And then kind of the big developments of this episode are around Kai Wynn. She
I can't
goes
even
to
look at the
bed.
camera for this part. I hate all of this so fucking much.
She goes to bed with Ducat, not knowing that he's Ducat or that even that he's Cardassian. They strike up a love affair. She shares her first name or her last name, which is her given name for Bajorans, which is Adami. So he starts calling her Adami. Um, and she's like totally willing to believe this completely implausible story that he's just a simple farmer who showed up in her life when the prophets told her that he would, and she's going to have all the power and she's supposed to. She's like, great, this is flattering to me and exactly how I want the world to work. And I'm not going to question it for even a moment. And then she learns, oh, wait a minute. This guy is working for the Power Wraiths, and I was spoken to by the Power Wraiths and not the prophets. And now I can't speak to the prophets. And what the hell? This sucks. She goes to Kira. She says, Nerys, help me out. You know, I know we haven't been great friends, but like,
Help a
what
girl
do I
out.
do? Kira says, you have to set aside the things that led you astray, which is great
Yes.
advice. Kaiwen says, cool, awesome. Yeah, I'm going to be a better person. This is great. Yeah. I want to be a better person.
Hold
Kira
on.
says, okay, great. So once you step down as Kai, hmm?
Wait,
Sorry.
what'd you say? Stepped. Yeah, I think. And then Kira's like, I think if you like step down as kind, you have less power, then like you can ultimately become the person that you were meant to be, like a good person, by stepping down from power. And Kai like turns around and is like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want. That's the one thing I like. There are. This is the best thing about the Kai Wynn plotline is there are multiple checkpoints in these 9 episodes where she could have backed out of it. Like very clearly, the whole storyline, not only the meta narrative but the in-universe narrative, is like, you turn around now, you're good. You're good. You stop the bad guys. And she's like,
Yes.
And it's just one more step into the ocean of shit and garbage, and like just one more. For the whole rest of the series. Kaiwen will do this until her bitter end. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. It's really such a great place for her character to go because what's been so fascinating about her as an antagonist in this series is that it's always been a little bit ambiguous the extent to which she is purely self-interested versus like deluded into thinking that she's doing the right thing. And the thing of it is like I think and there's kind of in the book On Bullshit there's like a little bit of this discussion of it's not necessarily useful to examine someone who's a bullshitter in terms of like are they telling the truth or are they lying? Because for them that's a meaningless distinction. Like they aren't perceiving of themselves as one or the other. So Kai Wynn is not thinking of herself as like I am a self-interested actor or I'm a selfless actor. She's thinking, well, the best thing is for me to do stuff.
Yeah.
And that's good. and it's all good. And she just believes that because it's like that's the truth that she's choosing to shape around herself. So you get to see this character who at once is both like very canny and opportunistic, but also such a fucking mark. She is so gullible,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
easily tricked because she has a story that she wants to believe. Um, and you get to see her just eat shit over and over and
Over and
over
over
again
and over
in
and
these
over and over.
episodes.
And
Yeah.
Ducat's almost like it's easy. That's
Mm-hmm.
what's like so funny about this. And what's truly funny is that this plot line does not intersect with, after this Kira conversation, does not intersect with the rest of the story until the last 10 minutes of Deep Space Nine. Like it's
Yeah,
all
right.
they almost are like, we can't do I really dislike the Pare storyline in general. I think the idea of like an
Uh-huh.
evil force in Majorcan society sucks. And that's like
Mm-hmm.
generally what the fan consensus is as well. So I don't feel controversial
Mm-hmm.
saying that. I
Mm-hmm.
really like that the showrunners were like, we have to put this is like too chaotic. It has to be in a box. Put
Mm-hmm.
put Ducat and Kai Wynn in this corner of 15 minutes every episode, and do not let them talk to anyone else after this moment. I
Yeah.
like it that way, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't spoil my take. I really don't like the way it ends. I think the way it ends is miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely gets really messy. I think and it, we can talk about how we feel about the implications for like Ducat and Kaiwin's characters holistically too, but um what I do like about it is how much it emphasizes ultimately Ducat and Kaiwin are very similar people. And what does that say about them? What does
Yeah.
that say about power? What does that say about the people who end up in power? Because that's a lot of what these episodes are concerning themselves with is who's going to lead us into the next era. And, you know, we've had characters who should have been the Kai and they weren't, like Barial wasn't because he chose to step away from power,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's just something inherently about like anybody who's willing to take on power and leadership within them to some extent has this kind of like self admiration, this danger of caring about the power more than what it's for. And I think what's cool about how they set this up is this ends up being kind of more an allegory for Bajor as a society, as a planet, in the wake of, okay, the occupation is behind us, this war is about to be behind us, and who's going to be the face of Bajor? Um, and we can't assume that like Kai Wynn is better for Bajor just because she stands up there and says the occupation was bad and she says that she's a believer, because like she's not a believer, she's an opportunist and wants power. And how different is that really from someone like Ducat, who was the oppressor
Mm-hmm.
and is
Mm-hmm.
now just kind of like putting on a mask to be a Bajoran? um, can we really distinguish between these things? And as a society that's like trying to heal, what is the kind of leadership that we need?
Bingo.
So I think that that's like a cool. It's cool to view this almost like it's not happening in the
Yeah.
plot, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of like a short story, um,
Totally.
because it ultimately doesn't have any bearing on anything except for what happens to Cisco at the end.
Yeah.
Um, but if I think too much about it as like a literal thing that's happening to the characters, it's kind of like this is a little dumb.
Agreed. Agreed.
um, but
Agreed.
this is so delicious. This is like a B or an A for me. Just watching Kaiwin absolutely kick herself in the seat is so funny.
It's absolutely an A for me. I mean,
Yeah.
compare her arc in this with Damar. His final shot is when Wayun is like, dude, you have no power. You are useless. We are manipulating you. And Damar is so mad, but instead of getting mad at Wayun, he gets mad at himself for being part of this. And he throws
Yeah.
wine at himself in the mirror because he can't look at himself in the mirror. I'm like,
Mhm.
poetry, dude. That's
Yes.
so he has the self-awareness that Kai Wynn lacks, is what I'm saying.
Yes. Right. Yeah, because he recognizes like, oh shit, I've been in like the council chambers this whole time. This whole war has been going on, and I've been the second in command to these awful people who are hurting Cardassia, and I've been complicit in it. I've been a collaborator
Yeah.
in a sense in like my own people's oppression, and I refuse to do that any longer. And Kai Wynn looks at herself and is like, shit, the prophets have never spoken to me. I've only been spoken to by the bad spirits. I think I'm cool with that. I
Yeah.
think I'm ready to do evil, actually. So
Yeah.
let's do that.
Yeah. Not everybody has to
Um,
have a face turn, so they kind of they've reverse arcs, which I like a lot.
yeah, definitely.
It's high A for me.
Okay, so yeah, hi, that sounds good. So then we get to 20, the changing face of evil, which is kind of that transition that we're describing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kywin is now fully embroiled in like a Game of Thrones episode where she has her advisor guy who's like, I shouldn't trust this
Soulbore.
man. I don't know about this. And she says the this is like the most well-written piece of bad wisdom I've ever heard, where she says knowledge is never dangerous in the right hands, which is just wrong.
Wrong.
Like just like a wrong thing. But that's the problem is she believes like, well, I have the right hands, so I'm incorruptible. Like I could receive any power and it would be fine. Um and then her advisor's like, actually, he who studies evil is studied by evil. So like you're getting played.
Soulbore is
She
so
says,
smart. Soulbore is the smartest Bajoran since Kieran Reese, I think.
yes, yes, definitely.
And then she kills him.
Yep.
This episode's an S to me because it's insane. S for insane is what I wrote.
That's funny.
I was everything in the Kylo plot goes to a head here. It's like Dukat is like, yeah, but there's this like Pa Wraith book, and if you read it, it'll be like really sick. And then she opens it and she's like, I can't see the words. And in my head I go, it's blood. You're gonna need blood, aren't you? And then when it's blood later, I'm like, I hate when I'm right, y'all. I hate when I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all
Mm-hmm.
happening. We have this quick little B plot where Bashir and O'Brien are playing with their Alma models, and I'm going, guys, we're 5 episodes from the end of the show, and you're playing with your models. And then Quark walks in and goes, guys, we're 5 episodes from the end of the show, and you're playing with models.
Mm-hmm.
Love the self-awareness there, because they're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we sometimes you have to decompress during a stressful situation.
Yep.
Wei-Yun's a piece of shit. He talks about the Breen stuff. The Necronomicon is crazy. Soulbore dies. And then the most grand finale of all time, Damar telling the Cardassians to rise up in his full face turn. Resist today, resist tomorrow. King. Absolute king.
Incredible moment.
I pumped
So
my fist,
good.
dude. I was like, this is the most S tier episode of season 7. This is insane.
Yeah. Let's put it at A. I think S is like a little high praise because it's still kind of this middle chapter weirdness, but
I guess.
it's very, very good.
It gets us where we've been trying to get to.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll put it S. Sure,
Yay!
we'll put it S.
Yay.
Also just a clever title. The changing face of evil, like Damar's evil face is changing to good, but also the face of evil is becoming someone else's face. Like now
Yep.
Kai Wynn is evil. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, then so I think we can move to the next one, right?
Yeah.
When it rains. So 21, When It Rains. Um this one I watched with friend of the podcast Arthur, which was a lot of fun.
Ooh.
And we talked about some of the character stuff. He made a great point about Damar, by the way, that Damar is such an archetypical, like the guy who succeeds the charismatic first dictator, because like the first dictator guy, you know, like Dukat, he's this exemplar of cunning, and he's suave, and he's vicious, and
But he's a
all of these
dictator.
traits. Yeah. Like his talents are being applied to horrendous evil.
Uh-huh.
But then he's not going to let anybody else who's good at any of those things into his inner circle, because then they could challenge his authority. So then the only people who can come next are like meat-headed loser yes men who were the number twos of the dictator guy. And that's like who Damar is to a T. And then Damar is kind of realizing like, damn, this is who I've been. This sucks. I want to do something different. So that was a good point from Arthur. But
Love it.
this episode is kind of just some continuation of a few things. We're getting more into Odo has the mutagenic virus. He's peeing into a cup out of his finger like it's Scary Movie 3. Um, and then
I'm giving you a look, Magellan. I want you to know.
then we start this fun arc where Kira goes to be like a resistance coach for the Cardassians.
Yeah.
Um, and they are not very good students of her lessons. Um,
Mm-mm.
there's Yeah, then there's a lot of like Bashir is trying to figure out what's going on with Odo. He's trying to get data on Odo's medical records to understand what's changed about his biology so that he can isolate like the disease and what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn, whoa, they sent Julian fake data, or they refused to send him data at all because the Starfleet medical guy was like, we kind of want them to just keep having the disease. Like, they're our enemies. So if they die, that's fine. Hang up. Bye bye. Then Julian thinks that he gets the data surreptitiously, but it's fake data. And then by the end of the episode, we realize, oh shit, not only was it fake data, but actually, Odo's had this disease for a while and it was given to him by Starfleet
By Section
to
31.
infect the Great Link. Yeah,
Yeah, they gave it to him to infect the Grey Link. Yeah, it's crazy.
to commit genocide
Mm-hmm.
via Odo. Whoa.
Yeah, great. This is a great arc to take Odo on. Like, oh, you want to go
Yeah.
back to your people? Well, going back to your people means destroying them. And it's like, oh, how do we just established that maybe it's okay for him to be part of his people, and now it's like, yeah, you're the reason that they're falling apart. That's your fault. It's not your fault. It's like, but it's your actions, your body.
Yeah, and it's like this really sad thing because Odo's conflict with his people has been around like, well, the changelings whole thing is like, okay, everybody's distrustful of us, these humanoids, they are going to attack us, so we need to be aggressive. We need to kind of like control the board to keep ourselves safe. And Odo's been against that. He's like, well, we can live with the solids, we can trust them, we can be on their team. And in a way, they're proven right and Odo's proven wrong
Mm-hmm.
because they like let a gap open in the defenses to hear Odo out and bring him in. And there were people who took advantage of that gap to almost end the existence of their entire species.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like, fuck, this whole reason that I've been in conflict with the founders, it like makes even more sense why they're going about this war the way that they are. It doesn't make it right, but it makes it harder for Odo as a character to like stand by his convictions and still believe them and know kind of like his place in the world and who he allies himself with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's I was like floored by that twist
Yeah,
when it happened.
it makes
Yeah,
everything make sense. It's like really necessary to this whole war. It all
yeah,
clicks into place. Yeah.
yeah,
I think there's a great combo later with Odo and Cisco, where he's like, yeah, when it's my people, you guys are willing to let them die out, but when it's like, you're like millions of people dying, you're gonna fight to the bitter end. Like that doesn't seem fair.
yeah,
I love that putting a cap on it.
yeah.
Last couple things in this one. Dukat is made blind because he tries reading the Necronomicon book. Dumbass. And then fucking Kaiwin is like, you're Dukat. You're a piece of shit. I'm going to leave you as a blind beggar in the streets of Bajor. And he's like, wait, really? And she's like, yeah, fucker. That's your punishment. Yet again, listener, an opportunity for things to be done. And if anything,
Yes.
I would argue this
Yep.
would have been a better ending for Dukat. He's on Bajor, and he looks up as the bombs are falling from the Cardassian people or from the founders or from whatever he
Right.
wrought, and it kills him. This is
Yeah.
actually what I
That would have
really,
been awesome.
I really
That would
wanted
have been
that
a
to be the end of
great
Gul Dukat.
ending. Yeah.
But he got a different ending than that.
Yeah. I do just love like their constant rake stepping.
Yeah.
And from this point forward, now that she knows who he is, the second that either of them get even a little bit of daylight in terms of the status they have over the other, they immediately like stomp on each other. So
Yeah.
Kaiwin's like, "Oh, you're blind? All right, well, you're out on the street. This is a lesson in humility." And then later it's like Dukat has the edge. Now he's going to be cruel to her. And they just keep kind of like punching each other in the face over here off to the side while the rest of the show is happening.
It's just a slap fight. It's a slap fight.
Yeah, it's really good. This is like a B episode, I think. There's a lot of
Definitely.
interesting stuff. Maybe an A for some of the developments that happen, but I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think it's a B.
All right, B. Now, episode 22, Tacking into the Wind. So, what parts of the arc do we get in Tacking into the Wind? This is the bulk of like the Cardassians are learning how to be rebels, and they don't like Kira telling them what to do.
Mhm.
She's like, you need to be more decentralized. And they're like, what? But our whole thing is fascism. So we don't know how to do that. And then there's like, they do missions and they're like, our guys did a great job on the mission. And she's like, no, they did the most obvious brute thing. It's just that your enemies were dumb. But like, you guys do not know how to fight a guerrilla war because you are the Empire from Star Wars. So like you don't get what you're doing. So that's fun, and we just get a lot of like kind of subterfuge. Kira, Odo, Garrick are the team, and that's a really fun team to be going and doing. The part of this that's like in Return of the Jedi, there's kind of the Death Star 2 space fight.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like the fight in the throne room, and there's the fight on the planet with Leia and Han and Chewie.
Yeah, they're the on the ground battle
Thing. They're the on the ground battle that makes the victory possible.
Did you not read my notes?
No.
That's crazy that you say that.
Did you say a similar thing?
I said this is the part of Battlefront 2 that I like when you do a space battle and you go out to the ship and you just disable all the systems, you fuck all the shit up. That we approach the Star Wars reference.
Yes.
Parallel ways.
That is so funny.
That's totally it. They're like, hey, if we plant bombs here, then like the ship doesn't have like data transmission or whatever. It's like you're playing Battlefront 2, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think the two like really good plots of this one, by the way, just to like get through it.
Yeah.
The Garrick Kira talking to the Cardassians, and then the Klingons. Ezri War from the Klingons. That's our two. I don't know what this hand symbol is, but I like it. It's comfortable for my hands. The best part of everything with Damar, oh my god, R.I.P. Damar's wife and kids, by the way, so sad. Kind of like happens off screen in a really quick way that I didn't love. He literally, this whole sequence is incredible. It's the best part of this plot line. He's like, it's just unfair that a state could authorize the killing of women and children. I say, looking in the camera, knowing about the like knowing how that relates to current events. And then Kira does what I'm doing and goes, yeah, why would a state authorize the killing of... I just think that's like shitty. I think like if an empire were to do that to another group of people, that would be really unfair and shitty. Free Palestine. Anyways, and then Garrick is like, and she's like, oh, I'm so shitty. I shouldn't have said that to him. And then Garrick's like, no, actually, I think it's a good thing that you told the future leader of Cardassia that he shouldn't kill women and children. Because, like, don't we want the next leader to be good? If no one tells him this, then he doesn't learn.
Yeah.
Like, good on you.
Yeah.
I loved Garrick here. This is a great moment for Garrick.
Yeah. This is such a great arc with the three of them in conversation with each other, being the shapers of the Cardassia to come.
Totally.
Because they each have such a different stake in the Cardassia that was. Because for Kira, it's like Cardassia is bad. The Cardassians are oppressors who did horrible things. And she's reckoning with this struggle of like, okay, but I can position them to be better, and that is a good thing. It's hard for me to play that role, but the galaxy would be better if we had a more ethical Cardassia. And then you have Garrick, who's like, I did stuff for Cardassia. I was a part of their operations. I've since become like very alienated from the
My
kind of like
people.
power structure, but he has a deep connection to the culture and the values and the ideals of Cardassianness, in ways that Kira definitely does not. And then you have Damar, who's like just hasn't been very thoughtful about culture or whatever. He's just like been a part of the war machine and benefited greatly from it, and is the closest to like the old Cardassia. So in that moment where they have the kind of the standoff and everybody's got their guns at each other's heads, the one guy has a gun on Kira or Odo or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Garrick's got a gun on him, and Damar's like, who do I shoot? And he shoots his friend, and then he says he was a friend, but his Cardassia is dead and it won't be coming back.
Ooh.
It's like, fuck yeah, Damar. You just made a big choice. A big, big choice.
He
And
made the
that was
right
awesome.
choice. Yeah, Damar's he's
Yeah.
like the best. The thing is, like these 7 episodes, there's so much rapid character development for some people, and
Yep.
his feels the most earned.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to be for him to be the guy who killed Ducat's daughter and
That's where we
then to
start.
get
Yeah.
here and be like, "Oh, I'm going to totally change my whole outlook on all of
The
this."
old Cardassia is dead. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I would actually argue counter to that then that the Klingon plot goes a little bit too fast for how important it's supposed to be.
I agree. It gets kind of crammed into this
Yeah.
episode alone. Yeah.
Esri's talking to Worf and she says, "If can I be honest with you?" And he's like, "What?" Like, because they've been setting up earlier that there's like this Gowron and Martok thing when Gowron is trying to take over and be like, "We'll just keep throwing ourselves at them." And Martok is like, "I can't remember which one's which. I'm sorry." That's
Gowron's the chancellor, Martok's the general. Gowron is like
who's the Warhawk?
bug eyes.
Gowron.
Gowron Gowron is pushing for like riskier military choices. Um, and everyone's kind of like, that's not a great idea. And what Worf like lays out for us and for Cisco is this is kind of a thing, like a pattern in Klingon
Klingon.
political history to an extent, where you're in the midst of a war, and for a Klingon society that's so um, predicated on like valor and honor and military success and victory and things like that, the hero of this is Martok. Like he's the people's hero.
Yeah.
He's the one who's kind of currying the most favor and generating the most political clout.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the same time, his victories are not quite decisive enough or quick enough for that to also benefit Gowron. So Gowron's looking more ineffectual because the war is not like a clean, quick, decisive victory.
Mm.
And yet Martok is looking more valorous because he's the one who's like continuously throwing himself into this.
Mm-hmm.
So in kind of the king making logic,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that's going to happen coming out of this is like Gowron is going to be a weak chancellor, and people are going to be looking to Martok to be kind of the leader of the Klingon Empire. So Gowron's trying to force a situation where he can reclaim some status. Maybe even Martok dies in battle in the course of him pushing him to do more fights. Who knows?
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where Worf is like, "Nah, this is enough. Let's duel right now." In the war room.
Well, it all happens really fast, even for Worf, because right before that,
Yes.
Esri's the one who encourages him, and she's and I really do value a partner that can do something like this, like to tell their partner like everything that matters to you is dying unless you get your shit together and your people fix their what's wrong with them. I'm telling you that, and I respect your culture,
Yeah.
and I also think it's going to die. She's like, I
Yeah.
don't expect the Klingons to last very long at the rate that they're burning troops. Literally, your whole
Yeah.
empire is going to fall if you keep following people like Gowron. So then he's like, hey, Gowron, I think this is stupid. Gowron's like, that means that you're challenging me. What? Now we're dueling. We fight. Accidentally. Boom. Worf kills Gowron. Kills. You're like, wait. Uh-oh. And they put the cloak on him and they're like, Worf, you're the leader of the Klingon Empire. And he goes, no. Whoa. Hey, Martok, can you have it? I think that you can lead the Klingon Empire to a better future. And we're fine. We can do this. Because it's the leader who doesn't want it that deserves it. Kayla says, great men do not seek power. They have great power thrust upon them. Isn't that literally like a MacArthur quote or something? That's like an actual quote.
Yeah, it's just kind of like parallel thinking. Like Kalis
is George Washington.
It was like, right, exactly. Yeah, and again, we're getting kind of another riff on this theme of what does it mean to lead in different moments or for different purposes. Being the leader of the one who makes the change is different than being the one who rebuilds afterwards. And so it's cool to see Worf recognize, like, this is what I can do. I have the ability to kind of see this dynamic happening and advocate for Martok, because like he's not going to do that himself, and it would actually be really bad if Martok did that himself. If Martok was like, Gowron, fuck you, let's fight, and then Martok kills Gowron, that would be really bad, because now Martok is this like general who's, you know, doing a coup or something.
He wanted it.
So it's also kind of this another parallel to the Kai Wynn thing, where Martok is like, no, I don't trust power being put into my hands. And Worf is kind of like, yeah, that's good. You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. And exactly.
Take it and keep doing what you do, because you're great, King. So I agree that it's like very quick. And also I think they did it the right way. It's just like, let it breathe a little bit more.
IB?
Yeah, this is almost an A. Like, I think I was satisfied with where the Klingon stuff ended up, which I wasn't expecting.
I like that part where there's that really hot Vorta woman. Odo disguised himself as the founder, and then Kira disguises her voice as the Vorta. I like to think that's her also trying out a different identity.
yeah, there's gender there.
Yeah, I'd give us an A.
All right, great. So now we get into 23 extreme measures.
I want to come right out the gate and say I didn't like this one.
This is the Sloan inside Sloan's mind one. Yeah, it's just kind of boring. Weird pacing choice.
Yep.
Weird
place to put it.
Really dirty in this one.
They're doing Psychonauts. They play the game Psychonauts, but for Sloan. Bashir and O'Brien are like, we're going to go into Sloan's brain and trap him in a containment field. We're going to like convince him that we have the cure to the virus, and then we're going to go in and get the cure out of him. And they go in, and there's a version of Sloan that shoots them, and there's a blockage. There's a hole in your mind, so to speak. We learned that his name is Luther Sloan, which is sexy as fuck. We see his beautiful hot wife, and he's like, I love my wife. Dumb, guys. This kind of just, it's cool. Like, it's cool, but... And then there's all this, like, are we out of the dream? I guess he died. And it's like, no, he's convincing us that we're out of his brain, but we're still in his brain. And then they get the code. And it's like, this took the Section 31 stuff one step too far. I did not need to know about Sloan's backstory. I didn't care. I'm glad Odo is saved, because I didn't want to see Odo end the series dying. And that's it. It's actually weirdly fluffy, despite being like, we're in the mind of the guy who's in Section 31. I actually found myself not engaging with it at all.
Yeah, and it's strange because the set of actions that Julian and Miles undertake is so beyond the pale for them. Especially because in the previous episode or 2 episodes ago, Miles is like, we got to do like a trick and do some spying. And Julian says, no, I'm going to do medicine and figure this out with medicine. And then we get to this episode and Julian's like, yeah, I ran out of medicine. So instead, we're going to do Section 31 type stuff. Then we're going to invade a man's mind to the point of murdering him is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And Sisko is like, you guys, be careful playing with somebody's mind.
Ah.
And then they come out of it, and Miles is like, hey, next time you go into somebody's mind, count me out. And it's like, this tonally is just off base
Agreed.
because you guys just did the most morally questionable thing that you've done and are standing behind.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just kind of like a light little romp in the brain before we end it. So I agree. I was not a huge fan of this. I didn't need Sloane interiority. It's one too many characters to care about,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't I have a hard time finding empathy for the guy who's like, I joined the CIA to do all these like extrajudicial murders and coups, but I wish I could just be a normal guy.
Don't make me empathize with Sloane. Yeah, don't do this. Exactly.
Like I don't give a fuck. Like
He's bad. Let him be bad.
you're bad. Yeah. So I don't know, like B or C. There's
I want
still
to
good
get.
stuff.
Yeah, I'll give it a B just because there is good stuff.
Yeah.
Frick, man, that's not an easily earned one though. Second to last episode. Let's keep cooking.
Dogs of War.
Bark, 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 bark. So many things happen. Big things.
Uh-huh.
Kira, Garrick, and company are hidden away by Mila, Garrick's childhood servant. A weird character introduced in the second to last episode, but fine. She's kind of fun.
But a great one.
A great one. I love Mila. Odo is mad at Cisco about the whole Section 31 morphogenic virus thing. Those are our side plots. Ezri and Bashir are finally like, yeah, we do love each other. There's no reason to keep doing a stupid love triangle at the end of our fucking show. Thank you, Ezri and Bashir. Thank you. Finally. Meanwhile, also the Divinian are retreating, and Cisco's like, we're going to push into the final battle. Here we go. But the big chunk of this episode is about the Ferengi, who get the... I'm so glad that the Ferengi got the second to last episode of Deep Space Nine, all about them. And about the new changing of regimes. Because the Grand Nagus calls Quark and says, who are you? You're the next leader. And Quark's like, I'm the next leader. I'm gonna be so conservative, and we're gonna make women wear clothes. Not they can't wear clothes again. And my dumb woke mom isn't gonna ruin anything. She can go live on Ryza with the Grand Nagus, and I'll be rich. Once again, Quark fucking rakes himself. He steps on a rake. He sells the bar to Rom. He feels bad about how woke things are getting because he's like Lita, the doppelgirls are asking to like get unionized, and I might let them. Like, what's happening? I want a conservative Ferenginar. And then it all blows up in his face, and the Grand Nagus arrives and is like, it was never for you. Rom is the progressive leader that the Ferengi need. He's the new Grand Nagus, not you. And Quark's like, what the fuck? Can I at least have one bar where I maintain a sense of power? And then Rom's like, sure, I'll sell it back to you. It's so funny.
He's like, I'll give it to you. You're my brother. I don't
care. Yeah. You paid me $5,000. I'll give it back to you. Sure, whatever. You can have it.
Yeah.
I have the Ferengi. This is the best place for the Ferengi plot to have gone. This is perfect.
Yeah, because they're doing the same thing with the Ferengi that they're doing with all these other factions of like, who's gonna lead them?
Yeah.
What is the vision? But with the Ferengi, it's always been silly because they're like a satirical society in a sense.
Correct.
With like the rules of acquisition and all that. So it's a nice little, we're going to keep doing the themes of this arc, but we're going to release the tension a little bit in kind of the 11th hour before we ratchet it back up to conclude the series. And we get to see kind of this question again of what does it look like when someone is given power and like maybe they shouldn't have been, or they value power more highly than what the power does to people. And you get to just see Quark be like a little gremlin and Rom be like, what? Moogie? Me? The Grand Nagus?
Pronouns?
Whoa. Okay. It's a socialist utopia. This is amazing.
Yay!
It's just so happy for Rom because he is what Ferengi needs.
He deserves it.
It's gonna be great.
This is right. This is good for me.
And Brunt is here just like kissing toes, and it's really
Who do
funny.
I gotta suck up to? To Quark? You got it. Never mind. To Rom? You got it.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Combs
excellent.
getting to be a kiss ass no matter what faction he's playing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it a lot.
Yeah. It's fun. It's like a bee. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I want to really quickly shout out Leggett Broca, the new Cardassian puppet who joins the bad guy's side. And I will say the performance is great. Mel Johnson Jr. playing this like, I'm here for literally an episode and a half. No, for like a total of one episode. And he brings like a kind of good personality to it. His whole role is basically, what if Damar stayed? Which is, he's going to go,
yeah,
my allegiance to you, everything for you, Empire. And they're like, cool, blap. And he's like, no, wait, why? And they're like, because we said so, idiot. You're stupid. That's it. That's what the Leggett Broca is here to do. This is exactly what would happen if Damar stayed.
Yep.
And here we are at the end, Magellan. We made it. Season 7, episode 25, the series finale of Deep Space Nine, What We Left Behind. We open on a shirtless Bashir at 5 in the morning, sleeping next to his new girlfriend, Ezri Dax. Let's make a pact. We both come home alive. From here begins an hour-and-a-half-long adventure exploring the themes of what we leave behind in war, what we leave behind in times of change, and how factions can change at a moment's notice. Essentially, a lot of battling happens. Everybody gets their nice, tidy ending. Almost nobody dies except for Damar, R.I.P. And before we get our final happy ending, we get one more big party at the bar. And then Sisko goes, oh, wait, what about Dukat and Kai Wynn? And he runs. He takes a quick, and you're like, no, Sisko, you literally had the perfect ending. He goes there, and he throws Dukat into the pit of fire, and they go out together, and he ends up in this sort of like liminal space with the founders. And I don't know what the founders, with the prophets, excuse me. And then Cassidy joins him, and he's like, are we coming back? And she's like, are we going back, or did we just die? What the fuck is this? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe, probably. We're both in the past and the future. I think that the only way to talk about this episode is to talk about, like, because it's so long, where everybody kind of ends up. So I don't know. How do you want to tackle this discussion?
Yeah. Why don't we take a brief break, and when we come back, we'll talk about this episode by way of going through the different characters and where the show leaves them.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you?
That sounds great to me.
All right, great.
Back in a bit.
Hello and welcome back to TrekChatz, the show where two friends watch Star Trek for the first time. And we are watching the last of Deep Space Nine for the first time. We're going to talk about it. That is Season 7, Episode 25, What We Left Behind. Now, as we were saying before the break, there's a lot happening in this episode, a lot wrapping up. So, broad strokes, we beat the Dominion.
Yay!
And we win. Hooray.
Yay.
But I think we can zoom in on, because this is very much a characterful finale, I think. The conclusion of this conflict, we've known that this is how it's going to end since it started. I think that's honestly, like, if I were to have a critique of this season, it's that we should have just done this like 2 seasons ago and then had seasons about like, well, okay, now what? I would have liked to see that in Deep Space Nine. But so this is less about like the plot per se and more about what does that mean for the characters, like where they end up, where their stories conclude. So I have below our like episode tier list, we kind of have like a character tier list. I think we can just throw some stuff at the dartboard and talk about whoever we're moved to talk about.
Sure.
Yeah. First of all, is there anybody who like doesn't get a lot of play in this episode? Like I think Rom and Lita are kind of wrapped up by now.
Yeah, that was
Um
last episode. Vic is
yeah,
wrapped up,
I
kind of, although Vic does get to be in the bar at the end.
yeah. I, Rom to me is like S tier. I'm so happy for our boy
His
Rom.
ending was perfect. Lita is a quite good ending, although she never really got to be deep. She did get, you know, a chance. She worked her way out of her circumstances.
Yeah, so like B or A for Lita.
I give her an
Like
A.
B A. Okay.
I like Lita a lot.
Me too.
She's goals.
Vic Fontaine shows up one more time when we kind of have the big battle with the Dominion, then we win. We get this amazing denouement where it's like now everybody's going to dress up and go to Vic's and like dance, and he's going to sing The Way You Look Tonight,
Mm-hmm.
which is so wonderful. And then they take that and they rearrange it with like Star Trekky orchestration underneath the montages later. Um, so Vic as a character has kind of been concluded, but Vic as like
An
a
aesthetic.
way to as an aesthetic exactly, and a way to sort of like get us as an audience to buy into the schmaltziness of what's to come. I think he's very well positioned in this episode for that. Um, but there's not much else to Vic. So, how do we feel about Vic by the end of this show? Do you think?
I think it's a B tier because he doesn't really have a character arc other than wanting to, be alive and be happy. I know you like Vic more than I do, and I'm happy for you. I think I wish he got another season. He's one of the things I wish we got more of. Like flesh this guy out a little bit more. He's just getting to good stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious when we go to Voyager and we have like the hologram doctor guy,
Uh huh.
if we'll get some interesting reflections on like the personhood of artificial beings or whatever
Sure.
in
I'm
that way.
curious.
But we can put Vic and B, even though I think I like Vic a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I loved, I forgot to say this earlier, when they were like, come on. Uh, oh, what was it? Oh, it was like, oh, Vic, you're getting kicked out of your lounge. Why not just take a vacation? And he says to them, come on, did the crew of Deep Space Nine take a vacation when the Dominion captured the station? And it's like, you saying that is so funny to me for some
Correct.
reason.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's them kind of acknowledging like this clashes in a really funny way.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think we can also talk about Esri and Bashir first, maybe, because we kind of start on them in this episode. Um, what are your feelings about they get like paired by the end of the
Mm-hmm.
series,
Mm-hmm.
and then like individually where we leave their characters?
I always loved
What do you
Bashir.
think?
One of my biggest things with Bashir was that years ago when my friends were talking about Deep Space Nine on Twitter, one of them was telling the other one, like, oh my God, you're totally Bashir. And then I was like, is it because of this? And they were like, you're wrong and you should watch the show. Listener, 10 years later, I still remember that weirdly mean comment and I still don't know what they meant by that. I just want to.
Damn,
I
that
just want to put. I want
sucks.
to put a nail in that coffin once and for all and say I never
That
understood what the fuck you meant,
sucks.
and I won't be revealing who that was. Yeah, so like I like Bashir. I'm happy he got this nice girlfriend. He got to be with
Uh-huh.
Dax in a way. This is nice for him.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of a beard for him. I think the way that him and O'Brien's storyline ends here is
Mm-hmm.
this like very
Mm-hmm.
tacit acknowledgement of like we like each other more than we like the people we're with, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Sometimes you have a friend that's such a good friend that you gotta admit it,
Mm-hmm.
and the boundaries of society dictate that they can't be together, so they choose to both be with other people, and that's fine. So that's also an arc for Keiko, right? She always
Yeah.
supported it. She was happy that O'Brien had a friend, but literally, there's this conversation here at the end where the two of them are like, "Damn, I kind of like I don't want to leave you," and it's like, bro, bro,
Yeah.
bro, it's right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Bashir and O'Brien forever.
Yeah. I'm so happy with their relationships arc in the show. Like the Julian Miles relationship is like an S tier arc for me because it started from this place of contempt on Miles's part and this very like British Irish kind of thing, like,
Yeah.
oh, you're this posh doctor guy, you're an officer, but you're younger than me. You don't have like the experience that I have. You're obnoxious. And now by the end of it, it's like, I love you and I gotta go move to Earth, but you'll come visit me and we could still play Alamo, right? And then for it's also, I think, important that they are the ones who start the kind of like sepia montage.
Yes.
It's like the strength of their bond is strong enough that it can turn the whole episode into this like nostalgic look back. Um, because nobody else, not really anybody else's moments in that montage are strong enough that they could have started it.
Mm-hmm.
Worf
Mm-hmm.
being like, "Oh, I'm leaving Deep Space Nine," showing us scenes of Worf like walking in and walking out. I don't really care that much, and I don't think Worf is quite that sentimental about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's such deep sentiment between these sweet lovers, that it infects the rest of the episode, which I think is special. Um, and on the beard comment, the fact that Ezri's like, "Oh, we should do the Alamo tonight," and Julian's like, "No, that's what I did with Miles."
I don't want to do that with
But
you.
instead of the Alamo, I have another program where we could like get oiled up and shirtless with 300 Spartans and
Battle
do
Thermopylae?
Thermopylae. And it's kind of this like going from this kind of homo romantic, like it's us against the world, to like, well, I can't do that with you, but I can do this like extremely homoerotic like Spartan fantasy that I can do.
Hell yeah, Bashir. Good
That
for you,
was
dude.
so funny to me.
Good for you, Bashir.
Uh, yeah.
So funny.
So to me, Miles is like S tier. I've adored him in Deep Space Nine.
He gets to be a
Um,
teacher.
yeah, that's a cool ending. I think that that's all great. I think Julian, like the parts of him that are about his relationship with Miles are special.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you're right, it's I like, oh, now Dax and I have a chance to be together. And I kind of like the way that he relates to Esri now is a little different because his relationship to Jadzia was very put her on a pedestal, and
Ezri's a real person who
um
he can like have a relationship with, who cares about
and
him.
they're more like equals with each other
Yes.
in a way. Um he just seems younger when he's around her.
Yeah.
Uh and they're both like intellectual in a way that's more similar to each other than Jadzia was to Bashir, because Jadzia was intellectual, but she kind of was more like world wise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see Bashir with somebody who shares some of his naivete, but also is like wise in ways that he's not, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he's wise in ways that she's not. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they complement each other better. It does feel a little rushed at the end of the these episodes to be like, and they're dating, but I think it's
B?
good.
B? A?
Huh?
A?
I think Bashir A, Esri B.
Okay. Agreed. They did the best that they could given everything with Ezri.
Yeah. And when I was talking to Arthur, he was making a good point that like, you know, what he would have liked to see with Esri is for her to be even more different from Jadzia.
Yeah.
But like maybe what happened behind the scenes was like they'd already kind of figured out or mapped out a lot of what season 7 needed to look like, um before the stuff with Terry Farrell not returning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, we don't really have the runway to do this thing where Dax is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of have to do this halfway thing where she's somewhat different, but then when we need her to fill the role that Jadzia would have been in, we can just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because in like this fight, she's sitting in the chair that like Jadzia would have sat at and been like, the readings say this, da da da. Um, So she's kind of hemmed in because of that, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is a good point.
Turbo mode. Name me a character and I'll give you their arc.
Keiko, we haven't seen her for a while, and she pops back into this episode.
C. She didn't
Yeah,
really get an arc. She doesn't. She
she
didn't
was
really change
so
after the
she
teacher
was
stuff. That was like
so
so good. Yeah,
great with the teacher stuff, and then yeah, we kind of
they dropped it.
wrote her out of the show a little bit. Okay, let's talk about the Klingons because I don't think there's much Klingon development here. We
Yeah,
kind
Martok
of
doesn't get it. We haven't seen Martok since that finale, or not really. I don't think we did
right.
since that.
We
Sorry,
see
from
him
the
again
other one.
here, and he's like, Worf, you're going to be the ambassador to Kronos. Ah, an ambassador who I can hunt with. This is amazing. Um, I love Martok, like A at least.
Oh, whoops.
What?
I'm just saying shit,
Here
bro.
from Martok.
I'm just cooking.
What about Worf? So Worf kind of has like this ending where finally he's been like a person without a society for so long across two shows, and his relation to his Klingonness has always been a point of contention. And for a lot of the characters here, um, their ending is about going home to your people, and now you're different, and like
Mm-hmm.
you being different is something that they need from you. Like that's kind of Odo's story, that's Garrick's story a little bit, and that's Worf's story here. Um, and he's like leaving behind Ezri and Dax.
What was left behind?
Hey, that's the title. So, how do you feel about where Worf ends up at the end of Deep Space Nine, and really at the end of like two shows worth of Worf?
I felt B at first, but I got it up to A when I watched the montage, and I thought about how far he's come.
Yeah,
Just because he doesn't have like a big heroic, no one gets like a huge epic heroic ending. This is kind of a quiet finale overall, but I think Worf for character development gets an A for me.
I agree. The one thing I was a little bummed out about is the moment where Ezri's like, "So, how's Alexander doing?" And he's like, "I'm not speaking about Alexander for the rest of the series.
You're
Don't
like,
talk to me
no.
about him." Like, I want to know a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
All right.
Why is
So
Admiral Ross on
then,
here?
I don't know. He's been around.
Okay.
What do you think about him?
F tier. If you're gonna put him on here, then I'm putting him in F tier.
Yeah, F tier is good. He
Dude
does
sucked
like
from
full on war crimes, and then
Correct.
he gets to have like the little speech at the end.
Yes.
Fuck out of here, dude.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah, Admiral Ross. Bye bye. Oh, I didn't put Wayoon on here, but Wayoon.
The best death possible. The part where they shoot him,
Yeah.
Garrick shoots him point blank in the head, and the founder goes, "Damn, that was the last one." All right. Anyways, what? What are you saying? S tier for ending.
Yeah.
Really, that's actually exactly how I wanted it to die.
Yeah, I love that Wayoon to the bitter end is simpering and completely willing to believe. He watches the founder lie to the Breen, and then he's like, "Wait, I thought I was going to be in charge of Earth," and she's like, "I was just lying to that guy," and he's like, "Ah, you're so brilliant. Obviously, she's lying to you too,
Lying to you,
moron."
dumbass. Oh, I got that mixed up with Damar earlier, but it was with him. That she's like, yeah,
Yes,
they're
it was
2
with
feet
Wayoon.
away, and I told them this,
Yeah.
but I'm lying to them. And it's like, dude, you're lying to me too.
Yeah, so Wayoon's ending is pretty fun.
I'm just gonna start tearing people. You can't stop me.
Whoa! But then we can't keep track of who we've talked about. This is not okay.
Nog is
Let's talk
8.
about Quark and Nog. Yeah,
Quag. Quark is A tier because he got his just desserts in a way that he didn't have to die, but he wasn't like terminally owned the way Lando Malari was, but he kind of was. He died without dying. He had the most sort of a sad ending, but it's like, all right, at least he gets his little bar. Give him his bar.
Yeah, I think it's nice. I think Quark learns in his way to appreciate like what he has as opposed to being covetous of what he could have. Like that's kind of the lesson that he ends up with is like you don't need to disparage this little bar and want to be like the king of everything and make the most money.
Yeah.
Because like you've really built something that's given a lot of value to people on the show, a place for them to relax and connect, and that has meant something. And that's something that you can like sit in and be proud of. And so even though he's like abrasive to the end, him going out of his way to follow Odo when Odo's leaving and be like, "Hey, we're friends. Say
Yeah,
goodbye to me,"
yeah. The part's
is
excellent. I forgot about that.
a really special moment for Quark because uh he is like the one who's going out of his way to say, I let me connect with you,
Yeah.
because I admire you and this has meant something to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Odo gives him one last little performance of like the frustrated constable who won't give him anything. And Kira's like, don't worry about him. And Quark's like, no, no, no. That's what I needed. I wanted him to be my little rival just for one
Yeah,
more minute.
that
I
guy
love
loves
that
me.
man. Yeah. That was such a fun scene.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll keep him an A, but he does have a good
Keep him
ending.
an A. Nog, I think, is A too. I think the last great Nog episode we got was him with Vic Fontaine.
One
That
of the best
episode was
episodes of the
stellar.
show. Yes, stellar,
And
huh?
then and then he gets to be part of the crew that's like on Deep Space Nine now. He gets a promotion. That's great. We love that.
They would have done stuff with him in the hypothetical season 8. We'll talk about that.
Totally. I believe that. Let's talk about Garrick.
I
Garrick,
wanted more of a final arc for Garrick. I feel like he had some great lines in season 7, and then his final scene is talking to Bashir and being like, I'm probably not going to be really busy. Like, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. I've really enjoyed our breakfast together. I hope to have more conversations with you in the future, but what we had was nice. Bye. And it's like, no,
yeah.
what are you, Garrick? I want more than that. I was a little let down by Garrick.
Yeah, I think we can talk about Garrick and Damar kind of.
Yeah, same.
Because I think Damar, I think, is like S tier arc. Amazing.
I just don't wish he died like that. The way he died was anticlimactic. He dies in the middle of battle.
Yeah.
Because they have the whole thing earlier where they're like, oh, Damar died. Like the changelings are telling people like, oh my god, he died. Or the Dominion are like, Damar died stupidly. And then he's like, I live, motherfucker. And like, that's epic. And then he does die in the heat of battle, almost off screen. Like really quickly. And it's like, what?
I blinked and I missed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think part of the point of that, which I appreciate, is like the show acknowledging that the Cardassians have been doing the wrong thing the whole time. So for them to have a conclusion where there's this guy who like makes a face turn, rises to power, and is like, Cardassia is going to be great now, I think would have felt a little bit saccharine.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, I don't know how much I believe that like Cardassia is going to dust its hands off and say we're not going to sort of do this fascistic stuff anymore. So I understand what they're going for. That it's like, look, Damar has the hero moment. He gets it, and Cardassia as a society has not earned this
That's a good point.
as a system and as a society. And like that's what Garrick kind of reflects on at the end, where he says, you could probably zoom out from this and see this as justice, that like we got decimated, and
Maybe we deserved
I
it.
and I'm like recognizing that, and that feels awful, and I'm mourning the loss of like the things about Cardassian society that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling conflicted about my love for them, because Garrick's always kind of had like that daddy issues thing as part of his character. Um, so there's definitely this very unresolved feeling that it's hard to make that feel final, because like that's the point of it. Um, so I agree that Garrick is like, give me a little more, like, but what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna become like King of Cardassia and make it cool, or are you gonna go be a tailor? Like, what do you want to do? How do you feel about how you've been living throughout this whole series? We like don't quite get that
Yeah.
last piece of it from him.
Mm-hmm.
So Garrick's like A, Damar is A. I think that's probably fair. Olimar. And of course, we know Elim Garrick. Um, okay. Speaking of Cardassians, or do you
Sure.
want to talk about those two that you just highlighted?
I want to talk about those two I highlighted because I have a quicker thought on them.
Okay, great.
Odo and Kira. Odo makes the tragic but necessary decision to go back to his people to help heal them of their disease and to finally be with the ones he wants. By himself, this is a beautiful arc. This is what he's always wanted. Who are my people? Now you know. Do they want me? They need you. You feel needed and valued in a society that doesn't judge you and doesn't force you to be something you're not. This is actually a wonderful arc for Odo. It
Yeah.
also means that Kira Emrys is left on this island in the middle of the Great Expanse, just kind of by herself. But she accepts it, and I see the joy and the happiness in her that she's like, I love that man, that creature, and I'm happy for him. I think there's a really like I said, this is a very adult relationship that ends kind of how it
Yeah.
had to, with acceptance that like we can't make each other into something else. I'm something, you're something. We have to accept this as it is. And yeah, I choked up a little bit. This felt very good.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to. It feels a little arbitrary that Odo's like, I have to go get in the link and I can't come back out. And it's like, well, you didn't really explain why, but I understand like narratively that is the thing that feels the most final.
Yes.
Um, but like you're saying, the two of them have always been people who they have like a higher duty to to their people.
Mm-hmm.
Kira has always been someone who is sacrificing herself and dedicating her life to the betterment of Bajor. Odo feels like he wants to have that connection with his people. He wants to make them better. When in Chimera, when the other guy links with him and then separates, he's like, dude, I know that if you weren't with Kira, you would be in the Great Link right now. Like that's what you want. You want that community and
Exactly.
connection. And uh I think it is, yeah, really beautiful and hard thing for the two of them to say, like, we have these higher callings that bring us apart, and we can still like walk one another to the edge of that separation because, like, never at any point do we lose the deep and abiding respect that we have for each other. And it's like the thing that made us fall in love with each other that is the thing that's bringing us apart.
Poetic.
Yeah. So I'm like totally 180 on the Kira Odo relationship. I think it's
Same.
good now.
Same.
I think I'm kind of like A on Odo, S on Kira personally. Because I also love that Kira is the liberator of Cardassia. That's like a cool thing on her ending.
The second to last episode has a lot of different races of people being like, I never thought I'd be working with you, but hey, fascists are fascists, and we all know how to fight the same enemy. And it's like, damn, this is juice. Kira trains the Cardassians. She saves them.
Yeah, and it's like it's just such a cool affirmation of everything that she's fought for, that like the expertise and the skills that she gained never giving up on her people are the very things that saved like all of existence. Like those skills ended up being so transcendently powerful in these final episodes. And then she gets to be in charge of the station, and it's like, yeah, you're going to keep being the rebuilder, which has been a tricky space for you to be in, but you're like, that's my role, and I'm going to get in the muck of it and work with people who I used to hate, but now they are cool.
Especially because, depending on which version of canon you follow, the station will now become a memorial to Sisko. So her working in this place that is now like essentially a ceremonial thing is really profound. It ties back into our culture in a good way.
Yeah. And it represents, for the first time, Deep Space Nine is under the command of Bajor. It's not a Cardassian station. It's not a Federation station. It is a Bajoran station, and that's pretty cool.
Ooh, can we rank Kai and Dukat together? Actually, Okay. I think Kai Winadami is
Yeah.
A tier for getting her just desserts.
Yes.
I think
I think
miserably
so.
owned at the midnight hour by your hubris is exactly what she deserved from the second she appeared on screen to the second she died. Perfect. A or
Yeah.
S.
And they've been I almost want to say S for Kai Wynn because
Okay.
like I don't know what I would have wanted differently from
Yeah,
her
exactly. This is
character.
exact. I couldn't even have expected how much I wanted this. By the time it happened, I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly right." Similar to Wei Yun, like you got
Yeah, I
exactly
would.
what you deserved.
Yeah, I was like totally content with not seeing her again, and I don't think I expected to see her in these episodes.
Yeah,
And then yeah, we did, and it's like no, no, no. She she is gonna be a bit more craven, and we're gonna like see how far that goes.
for sure.
Um, and to watch her, it's such a interesting character study to watch her hold Ducat at arm's length and be like, "Well, you're the bad man. I'm better than you.
Yeah,
Now come with me. We're going to go do evil stuff. I'm going to keep you right here because I want to feel superior to you and feel like I'm doing the right thing. Um, but we're on the same team." And like that is such an interesting thing to watch. And then she doesn't make the right choice until the very, 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 very last second, where she tries to take the book and Ducat uses his power wraith force powers and she gets set on fire.
on the wiki, her last
Uh,
images in her final moments, Winadami is engulfed in flames.
yep.
Good. Evil dies. Ducat and Ben Cisco is where we have to have a little bit of a conversation.
Yeah.
I want to come out the gate and say I think Ducats is fine. I think it's almost a B tier because this guy had such an incredible meteoric rise to being one of the most interesting characters on the show. How does a person
Yeah.
who is given power handle it? How do they mishandle it? Why do they have it? Why? What do they have to do to
Hmm.
get it? That's brilliant. That's on track to be the best character on the series. And then we start
Yeah.
getting this weird Flanderization in season 6 and 7 of Ducat,
Yeah.
where it's like, really, how much more evil are you going to make this guy? You're really going to have him
Yeah.
become a Bajoran? That's horrible. I'm now sinking down into like B, even C territory. But then he's
Hmm.
getting his just desserts, and you're like, oh, okay, we're back up into A.
Hmm.
Is he gonna die? We haven't really resolved the plot yet, and the fact that the show feels like it literally forgot to finish him off almost like puts him between B and C for me. Where I'm like, wait,
Mm,
like your
interesting.
ending does not is not commensurate with where you started. You were doing so good, and you've just been falling for me, literally, and now he falls
Yeah.
into fire because Cisco throws him in there. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Because Ducat has had so many endings over the course of the show. And I think there were times where they very deftly handled him like seemingly becoming a better person, but then still kind of like um basking in his paternalism and in his like self mythology, um and all of those kinds of things. So I think we've gotten really, really great episodes that give us insight into that arc.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then we kind of had moments where it's like, okay, and now he's broken. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's gone too far beyond the pale. He's left Cisco on the planet and he's like, I'm evil and I love it. And then it's sort of like, what's the value of seeing him further after that? Because there, like you're saying, there's not necessarily arc here. There's just kind of like he's a narrative force at this point. He's
Mm-hmm.
the guy who does the Pa Wraith stuff and
Mm-hmm.
says, "Hey, Kai Wynn, come do this Pa Wraith stuff with me." I think what would have made more sense to me is all the stuff with him being the leader of like the Pa Wraith death cult. If that was his last arc, and because there's something about him like becoming a Bajoran, he's like been so obsessive
Yeah.
about Bajorans and like exoticize them,
Mm-hmm.
and so much of his arc is about his racism towards Bajorans. So for him to like become one and then lead this like death cult and kind of lose track of who he is and what he values, and it's all like chaos and nihilism. I think that could have been really interesting. but instead he's kind of just like doing the nihilism thing again, but it's funny now
Mm-hmm.
because he already got bonked for doing it earlier.
I think it's just a B, dude. I think
I think it's a B because it's like kind of all over the place.
yeah, yeah, 100%. It's a bummer. I think Mark was wonderful. I think I was like surprised how hot he was when he put on the Bajoran
Uh-huh.
outfit. But that's just the thing about being a Bajoran. It makes you hotter. Um, yeah, bit of a letdown for his final arc. IMO.
Yeah. And then he like wakes up and he has force powers, and then
Yeah,
Cisco and him jump into the fire. It's like, what are we
and let me
doing?
emphasize to you, listener, this is the last 10 minutes of Deep Space Nine that we're talking about here. Like
It's
we,
so yeah.
it's handled so
Yeah.
quickly and badly. Um, I think Jake, for example, is someone I can't give more than a B because like I love what we did with Jake. I love like the Visitor. I love all the like Jake in the future episodes. I think Jake got huge character
Mhm.
development from the start. So I actually might, for the sake of his arc, give him an A. But for where we
Mhm.
end with him, with Kira having her arm around him and being like, "Your dad's out there," I think this truly sucks for Jake because roll
Yeah.
with me on this.
Uh-huh.
Who's the actor that plays Ben Sisko? Oh my god, I'm sorry.
Avery Brooks?
Yeah, Avery Brooks was saying like I really don't want Cisco to die because I'm tired of the trope of the black father who like dies and it's not his son's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did do that.
Yeah, right.
They 100 like that made me really
Right.
uncomfortable. And Kira has her arm around him and they're looking out the window because I was like, you did do it. He's not
Yeah.
dead. He's in our spirits. He's basically saying he's dead. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
I don't think you nailed this arc at all. I think you walked yourself backwards into a still questionably tropey, unfortunate ending for his father. And they had such a good
Yeah.
relationship that it bumps it down for me hard, man. I was
Yeah.
so bummed because I was like, I love Deep Space Nine. It's one of my favorite Star Trek shows. And they took their main character and they threw him away. They threw him into a white zone, like a blank white room
Yeah.
with his wife who's pregnant.
Yeah. I think my issues, I share those same issues, and to me that brings down Ben Cisco and not Jake Cisco,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
let me kind of tell you why. Um I think that moment where it's the last shot of the show
Mm-hmm.
and Quark says the more things change, the more they stay the same. We follow Kira up to the promenade.
Mm-hmm.
Jake is where he was early in the series, looking out at the wormhole. Him and Nog would like go hang out there, be like, whoa, that's so cool, this thing,
Mm-hmm.
opening and closing. And so for Jake, it's this moment of like, the more things change, the more they stay the same, where it's kind of like, I'm in the same place. Like, I haven't gone anywhere, but I've gone through so much that now, like, this image of that used to be an image of like what's possible, the kind of like boundless future of, oh my God, this is dazzling, is now a representation of like all the things that I cherish about how I've grown, and also all the things that are so hard
Yeah.
about what I'm leaving behind. Um,
Ding.
so, and also I think it's special that like he was the reason that his dad and Cassidy got together,
Yeah.
and he like kind of was instrumental in knitting together their family, and he still has her. His dad's not there, but like Jake has the family that he built, and he's going to be a big brother. And I don't know, to me Jake is like an A because of those things, but they also definitely did do the Visitor and then turned his real life into the Visitor, which sucks
Correct.
because that episode was so sad.
Now the visitor still
And
happens.
yeah, it's frustrating. But I don't know. To me, Jake Sisko's an A.
All right. I'll give you that.
Cassidy.
She's pregnant because Cisco forgot to take his injections.
Yep.
I loved that scene. I think that is
Mhm.
a scene that many parents can deeply, deeply relate to, where you're like, fuck, I can't be that mad. I have no reason to be mad, but also fuck.
Yeah. I appreciate that the Star Trek future is one where both partners are involved in taking contraceptive medicine. It does feel
Yes,
like you're opening up a lot of risk. If for it to work, you need both partners to take a monthly contraceptive injection.
I know.
Uh, like you would think that they would just have a better way to handle that, but anyway. Um, yeah, I don't know. Cassidy, she has a moment towards the end of the series here where she's like, "Hey, quit meddling in my job. Like you can't tell them to let me take the day off to get married to you or whatever." So she like has her kind of Cassidy Yates moments.
Hmm.
But I don't know, she's kind of a B. Like they didn't give her a ton to do in my opinion.
Agreed. I like when she shows up in the white space at the end, and she's like, "Cisco, what the fuck?" And he's like,
Yeah.
I guess I'm fine."
Yeah. Uh yeah, and so that leaves us with Ben Sisko. How are you feeling about Benjamin Sisko coming out of the show?
I'm feeling really bad, Magellan.
Yeah.
I think the fundamental tragedy of the Ben Sisko arc is that they did most of it in the first episode of the series.
Mm.
And he's fumbled around with like, do I want to be a prophet? Do I not want to be a prophet? Do I want to be a symbol to the people? I think that's all very beautiful. This feels like a compromised storyline. This doesn't feel like it was the way it was supposed to be. Like, was there writers' disputes or edits, or was there an intent to bring him back? Because what I understand from the chat listeners is that for a while there was some canon that was like, no, yeah, he lives, and like he comes back and he revisits the station and helps them rebuild. And there is official canon saying that, for all intents and purposes, he died. So
Mm.
I guess we kind of live right now in a liminal space where both things happen. So for me, it's like I have two rankings for him. If he comes back and he's like, guys, I'm part of the thing now, but I'm happy to like, be here and visit with you guys, then it's like a B arc for
Mhm.
me. I think it was just good earlier. If he doesn't come back, this is like a D arc for me. Like
Mhm.
it kind of depends on which version of the story you want to believe. To quote Life of
Yeah.
Pi, um, the the story matters based on how it ends.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my most charitable interpretation is that a lot of what they were doing with Cisco, especially towards the end of the show, when we when we look back at like the 50s past, when we do the time traveling to when Cisco like leads that rebellion on Earth in that one episode. Um, those are ways that they're kind of playing with this idea of there's this guy who experiences his life linearly.
Mm,
That's his sorrow at the opening of the show is Jennifer's dead, and to him he now exists in the aftermath of her death, and like the linearity of his life
is
is
a
bringing him so
tragedy.
much suffering and tragedy. And there's sort of this idea that like by the end of the series he has transcended that and is living non-linearly and is able to kind of like connect with and affect and matter to the past, the present, the future in all these different ways.
Mm-hmm.
um I think it's just that is so abstract and so not explained very well in this last moment, and it's
Yeah.
visualized with just him standing in a white room and he's like, trust me baby, I could be here yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what do you mean? So there's like on some level an interesting metaphysical thing there that I just don't know that they land, and is complicated by all this stuff about him being like a reluctant religious leader,
Mm.
which I don't know how I feel about that. This stuff about him
Mm-hmm.
being like a Starfleet officer who's okay with the changelings being poisoned,
Mm-hmm.
and like all this stuff with him and the Maquis, where
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of like super cop, but questioning that I feel like we don't really resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like a C to me. I think it's just kind of messy. I appreciate that they tried something
Same.
big, but I'm not coming away from this feeling like they landed it.
I agree. I think it's okay to say that. I don't think that makes me like the show
Yeah.
less, but
Right.
yes, I think that they really fumbled Ben Sisko's arc here.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with it. It's okay. But we get our tender montage of everyone's best moments, sepia toned. We look out the window to different things in the future.
Yeah.
Where do you land on Deep Space Nine, John?
I think Deep Space Nine is a wonderful show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's leaving, what matters is your first impression and your last impression. I think it's a show that makes a great first impression and a really great last impression here with this 9-episode arc, where it says, hey, look, yes, we've been a Star Trek show. There have been like fun episodes, there have been intriguing short story episodes, all the things that you like about Star Trek. You've been
Mm-hmm.
entertained in a Star Trekky way. And also, we've made it a priority to tell this story about people in the midst of change, people
Mm-hmm.
who like are connected to things bigger than themselves, who care deeply about a set of values and like making those values work in the world, who have kind of hoped against adversity to build a better life. It's a testament to the power of like the imaginative potential of people in those sorts of positions. So I think this show does a great job of, for the most part, saying, here's what this has been about. Here's what we've been trying to say in the kind of Star Trek wrapper
Mm-hmm.
that's different than maybe what other Trek shows have said or done. Um, and so in that way, like, I come out of it appreciating it more than the Next Generation, just because if I'm going to like compare the two, because TNG kind of ends like, what a long strange trip it's been, huh? And it's
Uh-huh.
kind of just about we
The
were a
journey.
crew but now we're splitting up, and this is an ending about endings. And Deep Space Nine is really about an ending about endings in the way that endings are beginnings.
Yeah.
And that is like such a powerful thing to be left with. So I think it's been an excellent show.
Yeah, it's about things that I care about. It's about how adults band together and build community and rise out of a crushing force of evil. It's what does that look like tangibly? What are the hard parts about that? What kind of bad actors and why do people act in negative ways against your revolution? It's things I care about. DNG is like space is wide and vast, and we should be optimistic about our future. And Deep Space Nine is like that optimism comes with it a certain set of anxieties that we're not ready to confront yet, and let's see people confront them. So I do think too, like, one of the first points when people told us to watch Deep Space Nine was like, this show is in conversation with TNG. I definitely think it is. I definitely think it's kind of countering that 80s
Mm-hmm.
optimism, that early late 80s early 90s optimism, with like a how do we get back to it? And like, it's funny and interesting that the end of Deep Space Nine is resetting us back to optimism and saying, look, all these different races can be
Mm-hmm.
better. We can end war. Like, we didn't really talk about it, but the way that the Changeling War ends is Odo simply links with the founder, and she goes, "Oh shit, I'm evil. That's my bad, bro. I'm so sorry. I will sign away all of our
Yeah.
things. I will sign up
Yeah.
a ceasefire, and the war is over." It's like so clean, but it's supposed to be clean because it's like we worked to get there. It's not like I had this moment when I first watched it. I was like, well, why didn't he just go to her earlier? And it's like, well, he couldn't. Because the whole thing about the
Mm-hmm.
founder was she built this wall of like 5 different factions and like barriers and
Yep.
ships and arsenals around her. They had to
Yeah.
work to get there. So yeah, the last moment where he's just like, "Bink, you agree with me that you guys shouldn't do any more war crimes?" And she goes, "Damn, yeah, you're right." Yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
little silly and simple, but you got there through a lot of work. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, what I love the most about Deep Space Nine is it's a show about doing the work.
Yeah.
What's next, Joe?
That's a good question. So for TrekChatz, we have options and we don't have to make a decision now, but I think it's worth talking about it briefly on mic, what we're considering and
Mm-hmm.
getting a sense of what people want. Um, Arthur was recommending to me there's a Deep Space Nine documentary that includes some talk about the show and then also the writers reuniting and kind of breaking, here's what we might do with a season 8. Um, and so in that way, like, I think it's worth talking about it briefly on mic, what we're considering and getting a sense of what people want. Arthur was recommending to me there's a Deep Space Nine documentary that includes some talk about the show and then also the writers reuniting and kind of breaking, here's what we might do with a season 8.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is pretty cool. I would like to watch that if people would like to hear us do an episode on it. That
Mm-hmm.
could be cool. Um, there is kind of this question of original series or
Mm-hmm.
Voyager. There's also a bunch of TOS movies. There's also we do the TrekChatz structure for something else. Or there's like we're just gonna take a break from TrekChatz for a bit and then come back to it. And we don't know what we want to do.
Yeah.
What what is like calling to you right now, Trek Star Trek wise?
I think this year I would like to do one more Trek Chats ideally, or we could take a break
Okay.
on, and it would be What We Left Behind and something from TNG. I'm sorry, TOS.
Mm.
Something TOS. The original motion picture, the first couple episodes. Like I am feeling this yearning to crunch into TOS at least a little bit. One version of that I was thinking of was similar to the TNG movie things we do, like two movies. Every Trek Chats block is two TOS movies, and then we have watched all the
Mm.
TOS movies, and then we can watch Voyager, and then we can watch TOS, and then we can watch Enterprise.
Um, I'm intrigued by that order. I'm curious why watch the TOS movies before the series. Like, is that a bad idea? Or would we gain something from watching the series before the movies?
I mean, there are movies that are like Wrath of Khan. There's an episode that leans into Wrath of Khan,
Uh-huh.
so that is a fair point. Um, I want to cover. I'm just saying, like, it's a digestible way to cover a bunch of TOS and say, like, we're done with this chunk of
Right.
TOS. That's why.
Right.
But yes, the
Yeah.
TOS movies are definitely conversation with with the series. That's true.
But you're of the opinion that you would rather watch Voyager the series before TOS the series, it sounds like.
Mm,
Because you said TOS movies, Voyager, TOS Enterprise.
I mean, I could also do um, What We Left Behind, then TOS, then Voyager, or then TOS movies, then Voyager. I would also be fine with that.
Uh,
It's just like Voyager is going to be in conversation with TOS more. Deep Space
right.
Nine was heavily in conversation with TOS. Current Trek is in conversation with TOS heavily. And what I want right now is episodic Star Trek, and I will get that from either
Yeah.
Voyager or TOS. Either one will give us that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm thinking I really want to watch Voyager, but the more I think about it, the more it's like I want the context of having seen TOS.
and once you have it, you have it
So
forever.
right. So I'm kind of the mind of like Deep Space Nine, and then we do TOS maybe, or yeah,
You think it's What We Left Behind and maybe the first motion picture to kind of like kick us off?
yeah.
Or do you not want to do any
Maybe,
TOS movies
maybe.
before we watch it? Because that's also an option.
I think I'm. It feels weird to me to do a Deep Space Nine documentary
Yeah.
and a movie
Mm.
in the same episode for some reason. So if there was another like
Deep Space Nine
documentary type
thing.
of thing,
Oh.
that could be interesting. Like
There's
something that's more
also
about. Oh yeah, go ahead.
there's a Deep Space Nine table read from COVID.
That's interesting.
They read it. They read an episode that never came out. I think
Hmm.
it's
Okay,
called Alone Together, a DS9 companion.
huh. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, with that, or like if there's a piece of extraneous DS9 media or something
There just
that
isn't a
we.
lot. That's something that sucks.
Yeah. I'm curious what people think about it. I think it doesn't, to me, also because there's 6 TOS movies, so it's neater to be like 3 episodes of two
Two, two,
movies
two.
each.
Sure, you're right. You're right.
Um, so if there's anything else people would want us to cover in an episode that's kind of like, let's zoom out, let's think about Star Trek as like a media entity
Yeah.
that involves the Deep Space Nine documentary and like whatever else people want us to orient ourselves to,
Mm-hmm.
then let's watch TOS movies, and
Mm-hmm.
then Voyager. I think that to me feels like what I would want to do. if that feels good to you.
This does feel good to me.
Okay. So then later this year, we will do that like DS9 documentary, whatever else episode.
Which is available on YouTube.
Yeah.
Great.
But next week, we're getting the heck out of space.
Woo!
We are going back to terra firma, to a totally grounded show. Just kidding. We're going back to Xena. Can you believe we have another season of Xena Warrior Princess?
I'm so excited.
Xena Warrior Princess season 6. Next week we're watching episodes 1 and 2. Coming Home and Haunting of Amphipolis.
Whoa.
First off is Coming Home. Ares needs Xena's help to restore his godly powers, but he gets more than he bargained for when the Furies play a trick on him.
Listen, it's a good episode description when Magellan looks at me while he's saying it. Like, he little glances. That's for the video version, people. That's how you know. More Ares. Let's fucking go. And?
Season 6, episode 2, Haunting of Amphipolis. On her trip home, Xena finds the town possessed and sinister powers awaiting her.
Halloween episode, baby.
Ow.
Ow. That's coming out on the 26th, I believe. So that's perfect. That's our Halloween pod. Yes. We nailed it.
Nice. Bingo. But that's next week.
Amazing.
Thank you, folks, for listening to our coverage of Deep Space Nine. Alan, where else can people find you?
You can find me on Bluesky at Ibrahim, AIBRAHIM. And you can hear me on the Creature Quorum, which is a Pokemon podcast on scanlinemedia.com that I host with my friend Six. We're going to be covering Pokemon Legends ZA soon, as well as our continuing playthrough of Pokemon's Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. That's the Creature Quorum. What about you?
Excellent. You can find me on a show that I do with my friend Justin called Super Smash Echoes, where we play video games related to the Super Smash Brothers franchise. Super Smash Echoes, check it out. You can also follow me on Bluesky at not-that-magellan.bsky.social and read some of my writing at not-that-magellan.ghost.io. Plugs. I could do the plugs.
Do it, King. Do it, King.
If you want to get in touch with the show, you can do so in a few different ways. You can email us with questions, comments, concerns, suggestions at chatzpod.bsky.social. If you have any Star Trek thoughts or things that you want us to discuss, look at, respond to, emailing us is a great way to do that. You can also follow us and message us on Bluesky at chatzpod.bsky.social. Every instance of Chatz, which you should know by now, is spelled CHATZ because it's cool. With the Z. Chatz Pod, Pod. Chatz Television Podcast on YouTube, where you can see the video version. You can see Alan doing some hand gestures and trying to figure out what they mean by them. Yeah, Z, that's good. That's good. That's a Z. You can also find us wherever you listen to podcasts, and wherever you found us, please consider starring, ranking, reviewing, sharing, all the internet things that are helpful. Consider also supporting us financially on Patreon.com.
I had to Google how to make
that looks like a Z. That looks like a Z. That's good. Patreon.com/chatspod. $1 a month gets you on our Discord. $3 gets you twice monthly bonus content. This month, that has included a Chatz Nights, just kind of a fun little discussion, and then a commentary of the movie Scream, which was quite fun.
Spooky.
Quite fun to do.
Yes. Very, very good.
$5 a month gets you thanked right here at the end of every episode. Thank you, as always, to Stefan, Six, Noel, Nick of the Brothers at Infinite War, my mom, Marcus, Lee, Kyrie, Justin, Jen, Felicia, Emrys, Emily, Arthur, and Amanda. Thank you, folks, for supporting the show. Thank you also to Camilla at Camillastrator for our podcast art. Now, to close out the show, a chatsum, something for you to snack on between now and next time. Alan, what's your chatsum for this week?
Plain and simple, folks. You already know I'm a Pokemaniac. And I am here to officially chat some Pokemon Legends CA because the game makes me very happy and I'm enjoying a new Pokemon game with my friends. It is beautiful. It runs really nicely on the Switch too. For once, they made a Pokemon game that runs well. Wow. You run around a big city and catch Pokemon and get into a big fight, and then when night falls, you get into a battle royale.
Beautiful.
There's new mega evolutions. There's the story is pretty cool. I hear it gets really interesting towards the end. Um, Structurally, it's very unique. They're taking ideas from Legends Arceus, their other Legends game, and it's a unique blend of old and new school Pokemon. So if you've ever wanted to, it's a very good jumping on point if you're new to the Pokemon franchise. Also,
Cool.
Pokemon Legends Z A. What about you, Majel? What do you got for Chatzums?
I've got I think last week was when I chat some Daggerheart. I'm on kind of an RPG kick, looking at books and thinking about them. If there's anyone out there who, like me, is really into RPG systems that are built to adapt to different genres and are like highly flexible, I learned about one recently that's not super well supported by the publisher. There's not a lot of like ancillary setting materials or examples or things like that, but the core rules are really fascinating. It's called Cortex Prime, and it's a modular system that is built in such a way where the book is full of optional rules and suggestions for like, here's how you could use this to kind of build out the exact feel of a game that you're looking for. So if you happen to be someone like me who likes to look at how RPGs are put together and like hack things into different shapes, Cortex Prime is super interesting, and they have a great like digital version of the book, a PDF, and all that. So check it out.
Cortex Prime. This looks cool. Great art.
Yeah, the art's good. The dice system's interesting. I like it.
I'm sold. Oh man, we have PAX in like a month. Fuck, I gotta get back into tabletop games. Fudge. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to this beefy episode of TrekChatz. We'll see you out there. Good luck out there. Engage. Thank you to Magellan for being the Cisco to my Cisco, because we both exist at the same time and place, and yet we are separate entities. Oh,
whoa, the Cisco.
The Cisco. Peace out.